Good morning, everyone. So, PT365 economy is out. Now, in this video, we are going to cover the current affairs of economy section of last 1 year. Now, usually PT365 basically means 1 year current affairs are covered. So, Vision IAS published this document and it is usually free of cost. It is easily available on their website. What I am going to do in this video is that I'm going to cover the current affairs of last 1 year month wise. Why month wise? So that if you are following the monthly magazine of Vision IAS, you will not have to cover anything extra. Whatever additional information is there in the PT365, just write it down on the monthly magazine paper itself. Okay. The PDF of this document will be freely available on the app as well as on the website, and the link will be provided in the description box. Now, three important things. Since I'm recording this in the month of January, so this PT365 document, this cover the current affairs till November. So for upcoming months, there will be another document in the form of update. Okay, so understand that this is going to cover the current affairs from the month of April till November 2025, and then there will be another part for each and every subject which will cover the current affairs for the remaining months. Okay, so now let's start. So let me highlight the duration, that is from April 2025 till November 2025, and this is going to be entirely in English medium. If you prefer a bilingual explanation, there is another video in which I have explained the entire magazine in bilingual. But if you prefer English one, this video is for you. For polity, we have already uploaded the PT365 document in English as well as in Hindi. It will be uploaded soon. For economy and environment, this one is for economy. For environment, we have already uploaded. So if you have not checked that, please do that. Okay, now let's start. So first, let's start with April 2025 itself. April 2025. So first current affair is related to Eravat. What is this Eravat? It is Artificial Intelligence Research, Analytics and Knowledge Assimilation Platform. You need not to mug up the full form. Just remember that it is related to AI. The name itself is self-explanatory, and it is a supercomputing initiative by Niti Aayog in collaboration with Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Now, this AI supercomputer will be hosted at CDAC in Pune. Now, as far as the supercomputers mission is connected, India is on 75th position in the world on the top 500 global supercomputers list. So just remember what is Eravat and what is the objective of this initiative. Next is related to the PMP scheme. What is PMP? It is phased manufacturing program. Understand it this way. Let's say we are importing these pens. Now we are dependent on import. So what government is trying to do? Government is trying to create an environment so that we can manufacture these pens in our country. If we will manufacture it, our import dependency will go down. This is the concept of phased manufacturing. Phased manufacturing basically means we cannot manufacture this entire pen, let's say, in one time. So what we will try, we will start from very basic, like let's say we will start manufacturing their components, and then we will try to manufacture the entire that particular equipment. That is the concept of PMP, phased manufacturing program. The name itself says that it will be done in phased manner. So it was launched in 2017, and it focused on domestic value addition by encouraging the production of mobile phone and their components. See, this part is essential to understand. Suddenly you cannot start manufacturing each and everything. First we need to create a right kind of business environment for that, then we will move gradually. So we will start manufacturing components, and then we will start manufacturing the entire equipment. That is the objective of this thing. So what we are doing, we are incentivizing the large scale manufacturing by progressively increasing the import duty on the component. So let me give you the same example. We were importing pen. Now government has created incentive structure for domestic manufacturing, but pens are still being imported. So what government is doing? Government is imposing import duty on these pens. What will happen because of those import duty? Because of import duty, the imported pen will be costly. Let me give you a very basic example. Let's say the cost of this pen is 100 rupee, and let's say the import duty is 10%. 100 rupee is the price, import duty is 10%. So what will be the final cost to a consumer in India who is importing this pen? 100 plus 10, that will be 110. On the other hand, let's say our domestic manufacturers are supplying the same pen in 100. So domestic pen is now available in 100 rupees, and the imported pen is now available in 110. So therefore, by default, we are increasing the price of imported items so that consumers shift from imported item to the domestically manufactured item. This is how we are trying to reduce our trade deficit. We are trying to reduce our imports. Next is related to specs. So just understand the full form. Rest everything is self-explanatory. Scheme for promotion of electronic component and semiconductors. We are focusing on the semiconductor industry in our country. For that purpose, we have to create a suitable business environment, and that's why this initiative was launched. Please understand one thing: whenever a scheme related to business is introduced, usually the intention is to create a suitable business environment. The moment we are able to do so, it will start attracting the investment. The moment we are able to do so, it will start focusing on manufacturing, and therefore we will not have to be dependent on imports perpetually. That is the basic objective. So understand, in our life also, if you want to do anything in your life, just create the suitable environment for that. You want to study, create a suitable environment, put your phone away and lock yourself. That's how usually libraries functions. They provide you the right kind of environment. That's how these coaching areas functions. Like, they provide you that competitive environment. So similarly, we are trying to create a business environment for specific industry so that we can reduce our import dependence. Okay, so it was notified in 2020 under the National Policy on Electronic Manufacturing. This was introduced via Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Under this, what government is doing? Government is providing the 25% of capital subsidy, capital expenditure subsidy. Understand what is capital expenditure. Let's say you are setting up a new manufacturing base and you have invested, let's say 1 lakh rupee. I'm just giving hypothetical example. 1 lakh rupee for the manufacturing plant. Okay, you have purchased a machine. What government is saying, out of this 1 lakh rupee, we will provide you 25,000. Now you might wonder why government is going to provide this. Because understand, when a manufacturing unit is being set up here, it will solve two major problems. A, when manufacturing is done in our own country, it will create employment opportunities. That's a good thing. Second thing, since we are manufacturing in our own country, it will reduce our import dependency. That's another good advantage. Over a period of time, if we are able to increase our production capacity, we can export also. So it is a win-win situation in a long term, and that's a long run, and that's why government is providing these kind of incentives. Okay, next is related to innovation ecosystem for deep tech. Understand, there was a statement by our commerce minister that the quick commerce companies, quick commerce such as Blinkit, these Zepto, they offer quick delivery of items at your doorstep. So there was a statement by the commerce minister that these are nothing but shops. They're not doing anything transformative. And that's why he emphasized that we should focus on deep tech. Now understand, what is deep tech? Deep tech is something which is very advanced technology. Problem is that we do not have that kind of innovative business environment. We do not have that kind of focus on innovation in our education. That's why most of our startups, they are focusing on the basic problems. They are not focusing on the advanced problem. They are not focusing on the innovation side. And that is why we need to create a innovation environment. Again, the role of environment. Previously we were discussing the role of environment in the business. Now we want to create another environment for innovation. Please remember one thing: the budget of 2025 had focused on four things. Basically, MSME is going to be there, agriculture is going to be there, investment into our economy is going to be there, and exports. Now, when we are talking about investment, it basically talks about investment into the innovation. That means we have to focus on the innovation part. For that purpose, there is RDI scheme, which we are going to cover later. Okay, so what is deep tech? It is basically advanced technology which is going to solve the complex problem. For example, AI, quantum computing, robotics, all these are example of deep tech. So in this case, just understand the term, because examiner can basically confuse you by giving you related terms. Next is related to electronic component manufacturing scheme. We have already discussed that we are going to focus on the manufacturing of electronic component. The ministry is MEITY. Okay, now these are the incentives. Now understand 2 3 important things. In case of electronic items, we are heavily dependent on imports, especially imports from China. And that's why we have a huge trade deficit with China. What is this trade deficit? Trade deficit means we are importing much items, we are importing too much and we are exporting less. That is referred as a trade deficit. Deficit basically means a difference is there, negative difference is there. What is trade surplus? When we are exporting more and importing less. So, as per last year data, out of top 10 trading partners of India, only with USA we had trade surplus. With the rest of the remaining 9 trade partners of India, top 10 out of top 10, with remaining 9 trade partners, we had a trade deficit. Now, as far as the current situation is concerned, there is a high possibility that even with USA, we are losing that trade surplus situation. Why so? Because USA has imposed a tariff on our products. So our products became costly. If they are costly, they will be sold less. So that's why our that advantage is also going on. And that is why we have signed a trade agreement with the different countries and with different partners. For example, we have finalized the trade agreement with UK, with New Zealand, plus with European FTA, EU FTA, that is TEPA, which became effective from 1st of October 2025. So you need to understand all these problems in a similar situation. Apart from that, because of tariff, our exports will be adversely impacted. That's why, to provide support to the exporters, the government announced export promotion mission. So now you should be able to understand the situation in a comprehensive manner. Okay, as far as manufacturing is concerned, various initiatives have been taken by the government. For example, Make in India is there, Startup India is there. Make in India simply means manufacture in India. Startup India basically means start your own business. Stand Up India is another scheme. Stand Up India is nothing but Startup India for vulnerable section. For example, for SC, ST, women. So it is a startup scheme for these categories. Okay, after that we have PLI. What is PLI? Production linked incentive. In a very simple sense, government is giving you incentive based on your production. So these are some of the initiatives. Apart from that, we have also discussed a phase manufacturing scheme, that we are going to start manufacturing components, and then overall we will start manufacturing the entire equipment. So these are some of the schemes. Now the problem with manufacturing is that, understand, our contribution of manufacturing in our GDP, that is almost stagnant since last 1 decade or so. Even though the government has announced a lot of schemes, the contribution of manufacturing sector is almost around 17%. That is a critical problem for us. Why it is a critical problem? Because manufacturing can create jobs. Right now, our majority of jobs are coming from primary sector, which is not contributing too much into our GDP. Contribution of primary sector in GDP is less than 20%. Contribution of primary sector in employment is roughly 50%. So agriculture and associated activities. In employment, they are providing employment to 50% population. But in GDP, they are contributing only less than 20%. Majority of the contribution is coming from service sector, roughly 55% contribution. Problem with this sector is that it is not creating that much jobs. 55% contribution in the economy, but it provides employment to less than 30%. So you need to understand why we need to focus too much on manufacturing, because we have a young working age population, and for that population we need to create jobs. Those jobs will not come from agriculture because that is already overburdened, will not come from service sector because that is basically jobless growth. Jobless growth means it does not create that much employment, it does not have that much potential to create jobs. So the only thing which can create jobs is labor intensive sectors in the manufacturing. Okay. Next is related to project Spectra. Now before explaining this project Spectra, let me explain you a very basic concept. Let's say the interest rate in our country is 7%, the interest rate in any other country is 4%. So what businessman would prefer? Let's say Tata, Ambani, Adani, what they would prefer? They would prefer to borrow money from outside. Why from outside? So that the benefit of lower interest rate can be taken. Okay. That's why you might have noticed that a lot of our infrastructure projects are financed through JICA. What is JICA? Japan International Cooperation Agency. So basically their interest rate is quite low in comparison to our domestic interest rate. So in a very simple sense, when you as a businessman, when you are borrowing money from outside India, that is referred as ECB. What is ECB? External commercial borrowing. So let me write it down. External. External means outside India. Commercial. Commercial means for business. Borrowing. Borrowing basically means you are borrowing money. Now, to regulate this entire process, this project Spectra has been launched. So just remember that Spectra is related to ECB. Now let me explain its full form also. You need not to mug up the full form. Just remember Spectra is related to ECB. What is ECB? Businessman from India or business community from India is borrowing money from outside. Why they are borrowing money from outside? Can't they get loan from India? Of course they can. But from outside, usually the interest rate is cheaper. So that's why. Okay, now what is Spectra? Software platform for external commercial borrowing. The term ECB is inherent in this, and a trade credit reporting approval project. So this is an initiative by RBI to regulate this entire thing. Now understand a major small difference in this case, which you need to cover in your static part as well. When we are borrowing money through ECB, we are borrowing through the currency of the lender. In a very simple sense, borrower is from India, lender is, let's say, from USA. So lender is going to lend us money, and he is going to lend us money in their own currency. What is the currency of USA? Dollars. So in ECB we usually borrow in the foreign currency. Now the problem is that when we are borrowing, exchange rate might have been different. When we are paying it back, exchange rate may be different, and that's why there is a risk of depreciation. Okay. To address this problem, we have masala bond. Masala bond are nothing but rupee denominated bond. In a very simple sense, let me give you the same example. What is the situation of masala bond? Let's say this is lender L and it is in USA, and this is borrower, it is in India. So what we are doing in case of this masala bond, the lender will convert the dollar into rupee, and then will give this rupee to the Indian borrower. That is masala bond. How is it different from this ECB? In case of ECB, lender will give dollars, we will get dollars. So this borrower will get dollars, and then this borrower will get it converted into rupees. So if the exchange rate depreciate or appreciate, the risk is on the borrower. In this case, the risk is on lender. That is the major difference. Now in this context, understand one more term, internationalization of rupee. Internationalization of rupee basically means we are going to use more and more rupee in international transactions. Right now we are using dollar. When we are reducing the significance of dollar, this is referred as a de-dollarization. Next is related to PM Mudra Yojana. So it was in news because it completed 10 years. Under this scheme, collateral free loans are provided. What is collateral? Collateral basically means you have to put something as a security. Let's say I need a loan, so they are going to specify that okay, you need to put your land as a security, so that if you do not pay the borrowed amount, we will sell your land and we will recover the amount. Okay, now in this case these are collateral free loans. Then why bank is going to give loan to you? In this case there is a credit guarantee fund. What is concept of credit guarantee fund? For micro unit, in a very simple sense, credit guarantee fund will take guarantee on your behalf that you are going to repay this loan, and if you want, they will repay this loan to the bank. Now why they are going to take guarantee? Based on your entire proposal of the business, they are going to take the guarantee. So in a very simple sense, they are solving the problem of collateral for the borrowers, for the small borrowers. Okay, now in this context there is one more term, refinance. Refinance basically means, understand, refinance means providing financial resources to other financial institutions. For example, we do not borrow money directly from RBI. RBI is providing financial resources to banks, and banks are providing financial resources to us. So in this case, banks are being financed by RBI. Similarly, this PM Mudra scheme, the intention was to provide credit to the micro enterprises. So it is going to provide loan to other institutions. There are three major categories. Shishu basically means loan up to 50,000. Kishore basically means from 50,000 to 5 lakh. And Tarun means 5 lakh to 10 lakh. Now, in the last budget, there was one more category, that is Tarun Plus, in which those who borrowed earlier and repaid on time, for that the ceiling limit has been appraised, or it has been increased to 20 lakh. So this is for those borrowers who have a decent credit history. They borrowed it, they repaid it on time. Next is related to one state, one RRB. Understand three things. RRB was set up through ordinance, and subsequently in 1976 RRB Act was enacted. In RRB, that is Regional Rural Bank, the ownership structure is like this. Central government owns 50% shares, state government owns 15, and sponsor bank on 35%. The problem with RRB is that they don't have much capital. Why they don't have much capital? Because RRBs are dominantly in rural areas. That's why they were set up. In rural areas, people don't have that much income, so the deposit are going to be relatively low. That's why you will notice that majority of the major banks, they will have branches concentrated in urban areas. Now think logically, when majority of our population reside in rural area, why banks like SDFC or why banks like ICICI, why they don't have branches in rural areas? Like why they don't have branches in your village? The reason is simple. In rural areas, people don't have that much income, so there are not much business opportunities for these banks. To address this problem, the government had set up RRB to provide financial facilities to the people in rural areas. But these banks do not have much deposit. That's why what we are planning to do, we are planning to combine multiple banks into one. One state, one RRB. That is the concept. That means one state, one single type of RRB for entire state. This was being recommended by the Dr. Vyas committee, which recommended on basically recommended the amalgamation of these banks. Amalgamation in a very simple sense, oversimplified sense, merger. Okay. So RRB was set up through RRB Act. They were set up on the recommendation of Narsimham committee. Remember, this committee is for setting up the RRB. This committee is for the amalgamation or merger of the banks. Okay, this is the ownership structure. Government of India 50%, state government 15%. Now what examiner can do, examiner can switch these percentages. Like instead of 15%, examiner can put here 35%. Don't get confused. State government have the least ownership out of these three. Just remember this thing. Now who is the regulator of RRB? RBI is the regulator, but who supervise RRB? It is NABARD. What is NABARD? National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Understand, everything is mentioned in the term itself. Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So it is responsible for rural development. In a very simple sense, it provides financial resources for rural development. Why we have set up RRB? Again, the intention is more or less same. Now, there was a question in UPSC Prelims that whether NABARD, all the projects of NABARD are supervised by it. Understand, it is a refinancing agency. Refinancing basically means what? NABARD is going to provide credit to other financial institutions, just like what RBI was doing. So NABARD is going to provide credit to the other financial institutions in the rural areas, and those institutions will further provide loan to the people. That is the major difference. Now understand, in case of this RRB, the PSL requirement is 75%. What is PSL? That you have to provide credit to certain sectors. This is mandatory. Why it is mandatory? Because these are vulnerable sectors. For example, agriculture is there. For example, export sector is there. For example, social infrastructure such as hospitals, schools are there. Okay, so this is necessary to provide credit to these sectors. That's why RBI have issued directions that it is mandatory to provide credit to these sectors. Two important changes are there. Number one, for other domestic banks and including foreign banks, the requirement is 40%. In oversimplified sense, technically it is not correct, but in oversimplified sense, if bank is providing 40 rupees as a loan, 100 rupees as a loan, 40 need to be provided to these priority sectors such as agriculture, export, MSME, and so on. But in case of RRB, this requirement is 75%. Out of 100, 75 need to be provided to these. In case of small finance bank also, the requirement was 75%. But now it has been reduced to 60%. So three categories are there. Three major, actually four. Let's try to simplify it. Actually four categories are there: domestic commercial banks and foreign banks 40%, RRB 75%, small finance bank, previously it was 75%, now it is 60%. And then there is fourth category, payment bank. Please remember, payment bank are not allowed to provide loan. They cannot issue credit card. That's why this concept will not be applicable. What examiner can do, examiner can just confuse you that these PSL requirements are applicable on all the banks, including payment bank. Now, if you do not understand this difference, you might commit mistake in the exam. Okay, so understand the difference here. Okay, rest everything is quite common. Next is related to India's external debt. External debt basically means how much money we have borrowed from outside. When we are saying external debt, understand two, three patterns. A, our long-term debt is higher than the short term, which is a good thing. Long term is higher than short term. Second, our non-sovereign debt is higher than sovereign debt. Non-sovereign basically means non-government debt. Sovereign debt basically means government debt. So when I'm saying non-sovereign, non-sovereign basically means which is borrowed by private sector. Non-sovereign. When I'm saying only sovereign or sovereign, it is referring to government. So in a very simple sense, private debt is higher than government debt. Long term is higher than short term. Okay. Majority of our borrowings are in dollar and then in a rupee denominated borrowings. So these 3-4 trends are important. Now let's discuss the few important points. So our external debt to GDP ratio is roughly 19%. Now again, please remember this data is old. Over a period of time, new data will be provided. After new budget and survey, we will discuss new data as well. You need not to mug up the exact data, but you need to understand the average percentage. How much is our average percentage? So keep it this way, roughly 1/5. 1/5 of our GDP is in terms of external debt. Okay, majority of our borrowing is in US dollar, followed by the rupee, and loans are the largest component in loans. Basically, long-term loans are higher and non-sovereign debt is higher. Next is related to steel policy of 2025. So recently government issued a new policy. In a very simple sense, what government is saying, in our country for different project we need steel. What was happening was that there was too much import of the steel. So that's why government said, no, let's formulate the policy this way that we can give priority to our domestic suppliers. That's first thing. Second thing, even if we want to give priority to some other country, that will be done on a reciprocal basis. What is the meaning of this reciprocal basis? Reciprocal basis basically means if they are allowing our suppliers in their procurement, we will allow their suppliers in our procurement. Let me simplify. Let's say there is a construction project, we need steel for that. And let's say Chinese companies are trying to bid for that project. But China is not allowing Indian companies to bid in their project. So we are saying why we will allow your companies when you are not allowing our companies. That is the concept of reciprocal basis. In a very simple sense, you allow our companies, we will allow yours. If you want, we also want. That is the major difference. Okay, so that is reciprocal basis. And what is the objective? Objective is to give basically preference to the domestic suppliers. What is the meaning of domestic supplier? It requires 50% domestic value addition. In a very simple sense, when steel is produced, 50% value addition need to be done within India. It's not that we are importing some item from outside and we are just doing 5% value addition and then we are saying it is Indian. No, it is not. As per the rules and regulation, at least 50% value addition must be done in India. Okay, what was the issue? Issue was rising threat from the steel import. Import was very high. India is net importer of finished steel. Okay, next is related to safe harbor rule. Now understand, let me explain this entire concept of safe harbor. Taxation is there. Okay, first let me explain 2-3 terms related to it. Just a second. Let's say there is a company. Again, I'm taking a hypothetical example. Technically, it is not correct, but it is oversimplification just for your understanding. Why I am giving this much disclaimer? Reason is nowadays what happens is that people will take a part of this clip and will say, okay, the teacher is explaining the concept in a wrong manner. No, understand. The objective is to simplify so that you can understand it. Okay. Now, let's say there is a Tata tire. And it is supplying tire to Tata Motors. Both are related companies. Both are companies of Tata Group only. Let's say the price of tire in open market. Let's say the price in open market is 20,000. And the price at which they are supplying tires to Tata Motors is, let's say, 10,000. Okay, two different type of prices. When they are supplying to their own company, own sister company, in that case, it is 10,000. If they are providing tires to open market, it is 20,000. Let's assume that the tax on tire is 10%. So how much will be the tax in this case? 1,000 rupee will be the tax, assuming 10% tax. Let's keep the calculation very simple. In this case, how much will be the taxation? 2,000 rupees. Now, understand, in this case, government is going to get 2,000 rupee. In this case, government is going to get 1,000 rupee. The government is saying that you are deliberately keeping the price low so that you need to pay less tax. In a very simple sense, in this case, there is a loss of revenue for the government. Government would have received 2,000, but government received 1,000 only because the base price was low. Base price will be low. The taxation 10% of that base price will be low. To address this problem, there is a principle. What is this principle? Arm's length principle. Arm's length basically means maintain a distance. Just like this, when I'm let's say when you are meeting someone who is kind of stranger to you, so you are not that much close to that person. You will take your space and you will maintain a distance. Similarly, what government is saying, that maintain a arm's length. In a very simple sense, government is saying when you are selling this tire in the open market, use the same type of pricing when you are supplying tire to your sister company. Why to use same type of pricing? So that you do not cut down the price just to save the taxation. That is the intention of the government. So, two important things. What is transfer pricing? The price at which the product is supplied to the related entity. That is transfer pricing. What is the problem with this? If the price is low, taxation will be low. That will be loss of revenue for the government. What government is saying? Government is saying maintain arm's length principle. What is arm's length principle? Supply the product at a price at which you would have supplied to some unrelated party. In this case, this party is not related to Tata Motors. That's why they were supplying it to 20,000. So government is saying supply the product at the same price at which you would have supplied to some stranger. Okay. In that case, you are not going to underprice your product. You will charge whatever you want to charge. Okay. That is referred as arm's length and transfer pricing. Now, understand what is safe harbor rule. Safe harbor, in a very simple sense, that you are keeping a safe price and you are telling taxation authorities that I am keeping this much price. Are you okay with it? If taxation authorities say, okay, yes, this price is fair, then you can go ahead. So that when you have done this transaction, later you do not face any problem because of taxation authorities. That is the basic rule. Okay. Now understand why it was in use. Because now lithium ion batteries, they are considered as the core auto component. Okay. So that simply means these rules will be applicable on that as well. Okay, now coming to the safe harbor. We have already discussed it. The taxation authority accept the transfer price declared by the taxpayer at the arm's length. Three basic keywords are there. Transfer pricing, you are transferring the product at a price at which you are going to provide the product to the unrelated party. Okay. If this principle is applicable, this is referred as arm's length principle. What is safe harbor? You are telling the taxation authorities, let me simplify. The Tata Tires is going to call the taxation authorities that we are using this much price methodology. Are you okay with it? They will say, okay, go ahead. So that in later time, there is no problem. See, no business would want basically a problem from the taxation authorities because they are going to complicate the entire issue. So in this case, they are asking for the permission in advance. Okay. Now, there is one more safe harbor provision in social media. What is that provision? In social media, let's say you are posting something on Instagram and you have used some kind of offensive comment related to any particular community or any gender or anything that is offensive. Who is responsible for it? The person who has posted this content or the platform on which it is posted? Actually, the person who has posted is responsible. Platform is not responsible. The platform is given immunity under the safe harbor provision. This safe harbor is different from that taxation one. So in this case, safe harbor basically means there is a legal immunity to the social media platforms or the social media intermediaries as they are referred. That means they are not liable for the content which is posted on them. But if government says remove this content, and if they don't, in that case, this immunity may be revoked. So these are some of the provisions which you need to keep in mind. Okay, rest everything. I have already explained this. Please go through this. Next is Global Financial Stability Report. In this case, just remember it is by IMF. Nothing else is there. Just remember, usually UPSC ask a question that this report is published by, and they are going to give you confusing options like World Bank, IMF, or Asian Development Bank. Just remember, it is by IMF. Next is related to global trade outlook. So this is by World Trade Organization or WTO. WTO is important because it was set up in 1995. This in 2025, it basically completed 30 years. Plus, because of Trump administration, there is a deadlock in the dispute settlement body of WTO, especially in the appellate body. Okay. Now, what is the result of this report? This report says that the merchandise trade or the goods trade is going to decline. For the first time, they have considered the data of service trade, and service trade is going to witness a growth of 4%. So just remember the pattern. In goods trade, there is going to be expected or projected decline. In service trade, there will be upside trend. Next is related to technology and innovation report. So basically, as per that report, because of AI, what will happen? 40% of job loss will be there, or basically those jobs will be affected by it. Now understand the problem here. US contribute roughly 70% of the global AI private investment. This reflects the dominance, and over a period of time, this dominance will create problem for the global community. Why so? Understand it this way. If almost Majority of the AI architecture, if it is controlled by one country, why it will be controlled by one country? Because it is financing it in a very simple sense. Majority of the tech companies are from USA. So what will happen? There will be a sense of techno nationalism. Techno nationalism basically means using these tech companies, USA can arm twist any other country. And that is why countries like India also need to upgrade our infrastructure, or we have to upgrade our AI infrastructure, we have to upgrade our innovation environment. Okay. Next is related to Cape Town Convention and Protocol. In a very simple sense, understand. Let's say there is a aviation company, they have taken a loan and now they are not able to pay. So the question is, the lender who has given money to aviation company, can they take their aircraft? For that there is a convention. The name of the convention is Cape Town Convention. Just remember, it is related to high value objects. Nothing else need to be done in this case. Just remember this thing. It is related to the transactions involving high value movable object such as aircraft or engine or something like that. Next is related to liquidity coverage ratio. Liquidity basically means money. So banks should have sufficient liquidity. Why they should have sufficient liquidity? Let's say a person has deposited money. 5 people deposited their money in the bank. Now, let's say bank used all this money to provide loan. Tomorrow, if someone want to withdraw their money, bank will not have money. The bank is going to collapse. That's why it is necessary to have liquidity, and to address this, there is a concept, liquidity coverage ratio. Now, there is one more problem in this case, understand. If bank will have to maintain a much bigger amount of liquidity, maintain means they have to keep it with themselves, they cannot use it for loan. If they will have to maintain higher liquidity, they will have lesser money to provide on loan. As simple as that. If they are keeping more and more money with themselves, they will have less and less money for loans. That is the concept. These liquidity norms are specified as per the Basel III framework. A very simple, straightforward question can be asked. Basel III norms or Basel 1, 2, 3 norms are related to, so basically they are related to the financial stability or stability of the financial architecture. So LCR, that is liquidity coverage ratio, reflect the resilience of the banking sector. Usually banks should have the sufficient liquidity for 30 days, or usually they should have liquidity sufficient for 1 month. That is the basic concept here. Okay, now understand. If there is higher LCR requirement, that means bank need to maintain more and more liquidity. If they need to maintain more and more liquidity, they will have less money for loans. And if they will have less money for loans, they would want to charge higher interest rate on that much money, because they have to maintain profit also. And if they will have higher interest rate, borrowing will be less. So this is how this concept is interconnected. Next is related to private capital expenditure survey by NSO. MOSPI. NSO is National Statistics Office. It is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. As per this survey, in last 3 years, the private sector capital expenditure increased by 66%, and majority of that was in manufacturing enterprises, roughly 48%. Next is related to coastal shipping bill. Now understand, in a very simple sense, the objective of this bill is to upgrade or to update our coastal governance. Okay, so for that purpose, it is going to regulate all type of vessels, and it has a provision of license for the coasting trade. In a very simple sense, any foreign vessel, if it is having a trade interest in India, they need to get a license from DGS. What is DGS? Director General of Shipping. Now understand this thing. Examiner can set a trap that all vessels, including Indian one and foreign one, they need to get a license. No, it is necessary for foreign ones to get a license. Indian vessels are exempted from this licensing requirement. Okay. Next is related to TCS, that is tax collected at shows. Understand, let's say you are having 50 lakh rupee and you have decided to purchase a car. Okay. Now, when you will go to a car company, let's say I'm just giving random example, let's say Kia. So you went to Kia showroom and you have selected a car. 50 lakh is going to be the price of car. Along with 50 lakh, you also need to pay taxation. Okay. That taxation amount will be collected by Kia and then it will be later paid to the government. Who collected it? Kia Motors. From whom? From customer. Now, what Kia Motors will do with this money? They will deposit this money to the government. So they collected it from the customer and then they deposited it on the behalf of the customer. That is how TCS works. What is TCS? Tax collected at source. Who is source of money? Customer is the source of money. Money was collected from customer and it was paid to the government on the behalf of customer. Okay. Why government is not collecting taxation from the customer directly? In that case, there is a risk of tax evasion. Why there is no risk in this case? Because this money is not going from the pocket of Kia Motors. So why they would want to break a law when there is no financial benefit to them? In fact, they will be in trouble if they won't collect this money. That is the basic concept. Okay. Uh, let's say the car seller. So I have already given the example of Kia. You purchase this car, they are going to collect 50 lakh from you plus 1% TCS, and then they are going to deposit this TCS to the government. Okay, rest everything is self-explanatory. Next is related to ISAR, that is International Standards of Accounting and Reporting. So recently India became a member of this thing for next 3 years. In a very simple sense, these set the standard for accounting and reporting. In this case, understand 2-3 important terms. One is ESG, environment, social and governance norms. In a very simple sense, what your company is doing, what will be its impact on environment, what will be its impact on society, and what kind of governance is there in your company, whether it is transparent or not. So for that, ESG disclosures are there. Second thing is CSR. What is CSR? Corporate social responsibility. In a very simple sense, yes, businesses need to have focus on profit. That's okay. They are profit oriented. That's why they are set up. But they also have certain responsibilities or obligations towards the society. And that is referred as corporate social responsibility. In a very simple sense, they are going to use a part of their profit to do something social. The provisions of corporate social responsibility are explicitly mentioned in the Companies Act of 2013. Okay, so I think India is one of the first country to specify these provisions in a legal sense. In a very simple sense, we have mentioned it in the legislation itself that there is a provision of corporate social responsibility. Okay, next is related to Bombay Stock Exchange. So it is oldest stock exchange. It is Asia's first. Why it was in use? Because it completed 150 years. It was set up in 1875 by the name of the Native Shares and Stock Brokers. And in 2017, it became the first listed stock exchange. What is the meaning of this listed stock exchange? In a very simple sense, you can purchase the shares of BSE. Okay. 2-3 important things are there. You are investor. You will purchase shares. These shares are listed on the stock exchange. So stock exchange is nothing like nothing but like a vegetable market. In vegetable market, you will get vegetables. In stock exchange, you will get the shares or stocks. Okay, you are going to purchase these shares or stocks with the help of a broker. For example, Zerodha is a broker. Okay, you have purchased the shares, but nowadays we don't have paper of these shares, so we have a digital copy. These digital copy are stored in depositories. So we have two major depositories, CDSL and NSDL. Okay, who is the regulator of this entire thing? SEBI is the regulator. Initially, SEBI was executive body. In 1988, it was set up as an executive body, and later in 1992, it was given statutory powers. So these are some of the important things. One more thing, NSE, that is National Stock Exchange, is first dematerialized stock exchange of our country. What is dematerialized? In a very simple sense, electronic. One more thing, BSE released the index of top 30 company, which is referred as Sensex, sensitive index. NSE released the index or the list of top 50 company, which is basically referred as Nifty 50. Okay, so these are important terms related to stock exchange. We have already discussed this aircraft person of interest in that Cape Town convention, so just go through this. Next is related to nano sulfur innovation by TERI. What is TERI? The Energy and Resource Institute. So basically, they have developed a biologically derived nano sulfur fertilizer. Since it is biologically, so that is going to be eco-friendly, and it uses the plant promoting bacteria. Next is related to saline aquaculture hub. So government is promoting the inland saline aquaculture in a very simple sense. We just want to promote the fisheries sector, and for that the government has started this initiative in the Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan and UP. So basically we are using that land which is not suitable for aquaculture, so that's why the name saline. Okay, apart from that, there is one integrated aqua park in Sirsa. This is in Haryana. So in a very simple sense, understand, in 2016 government had set up a committee named as Ashok Dalwai Committee. The objective of that committee was to help in doubling farmers' income. Now, the committee highlighted that we need to create alternative income sources for the farmer. Aquaculture or dairy or these honeybees, they are some of the alternative income sources for the farmers. And that's why government is focusing on this sector. Okay. So first is related to Northeast. Recently, the Rising Northeast Summit was organized. In that summit, two important terms were highlighted by the Prime Minister. One is this East Vision, EAST, East Vision. What is this East Vision? Basically, it refers to empower, act, strengthen, and transform. That means we have to empower our Northeast region, we have to act accordingly, we have to strengthen it, and we have to transform it. In that context, Prime Minister also highlighted that region as Ast Lakshmi. Ast basically means 8. So it is being referred that these 8 states are our Lakshmi. Now, why this? Just a second. Why this reference of Lakshmi? Because these are referred as 7 sisters, 7 plus 1 sisters. So that's why. One more thing. Next topic is this periodic labor force survey. See, understand, those people who are working, those who are engaged in any economic activity, they are basically referred as employed. Those who are looking for work but not getting the work, they are referred as unemployed. So the combined population of working plus those who are actively looking for work but not getting the work, this is basically referred as labor force. To estimate the level of unemployment, labor force survey is conducted, and that is conducted through MOSPI, that is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Recently there were certain changes in this entire survey, and that's why this topic was in news. What are these changes? Number one change is that now the monthly estimation will be available for both rural and urban areas. Plus, the quarterly estimation will also be available for rural areas. Quarterly will also be available. That simply means previously it was available for urban only. Now it will be available even for rural areas. Third thing is that the calendar year or the duration has been changed. Previously, it used to collect data from the period of 1st of July to 30th of June. Now it will be collecting data from the period reference period of 1st January to 31st December. Okay, and the sample size has been increased to 2.65 times. So these are certain changes. One more thing, examiner can set a trap that periodic labor force survey is conducted by Ministry of Labor and Employment. No, it is by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Next is related to Vision International Seaport. So this is a transshipment port. Now understand the meaning of term transshipment. Let's say we have to transfer or we have to transport certain items from point A to point C, but there is no direct connection between or no direct path between these two. That simply means first we will have to transfer these items to B and then to C. In this case, B is a transshipment. Okay, that is first thing. So this Vizhinjam port is going to be our transshipment facility, and it is a public-private partnership. So it is a collaboration project of Government of Kerala, Government of India, and Adani Group. And this has been set up on the basis of DBFOT. What is this DBFOT? That is design, build, finance, operate. So Adani Group is going to do this, and then it will be transferred to the government. So that is the new finance model. Understand, these finance models are important from GS paper 3 perspective. Directly the term is mentioned, that is investment models. Next is related to National Road Safety Board. This is not that much significant. Basically, why it was in news? Because Supreme Court has criticized the government that why government have not set it up so far. The provision for this National Road Safety Board is mentioned in section 215 of Motor Vehicle Act. As the name suggests, what will be objective? To ensure road safety. Next is related to District Mineral Foundation. Now understand the entire issue. Mineral areas are there, minerals are extracted, but what about the people who are living in those areas? So for the welfare of those areas, there is a scheme. The name of the scheme is Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana. That means the welfare of the people who are in the mineral areas. That is the policy. Under this policy, basically a fund is set up. That is District Mineral Fund. This fund will be used for the welfare of the people residing in those mineral areas. And for the management, there is District Mineral Foundation. Two terms are there. Actually, three terms are there. Pradhan Mantri Khanij Kshetra Kalyan Yojana. This is the scheme. Under this scheme, a fund has been set up. This fund will be used for the welfare of the people residing in mineral areas. For that purpose, that means for the management, we have DMF, that is District Mineral Foundation. For the regulation of mineral areas, how mines will be auctioned, what is the process, for that we have MMDR Act, that is Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act. Now understand one more thing, how this fund will have money. So basically, whenever mining is done, royalty is being paid to the government. As a part of that, some portion of the money will come to this, and this money will be used for the welfare. Now roughly 70% of this money should be used for the basic facility for the people who are residing in these areas. So that is all about this entire issue. Next is related to India's size of economy. So India became fourth largest economy. We recently surpassed Japan. So we are fourth largest economy. US is largest economy in terms of GDP, then China, then Germany, and then India. Roughly 70% of our GDP is because of private consumption. So if you remember this equation AD, that is aggregate demand is C plus I plus Z plus X minus M. So this C refers to consumption itself. Next is related to remittance tax and one big beautiful bill. First thing first, understand remittance. So if your brother is working in US and sending money back to you, that is remittance for our country. India is largest recipient of remittances. Now US has introduced a bill that is one big beautiful bill. Just remember the term since it is quite a catchy phrase. Okay. So as a part of this bill, US is saying that if your brother is going to send money to you back to India from USA, then US will charge the taxation on it, and that is 3.5%. So if your brother is going to send 100 rupees, US will charge 3.5 rupees as tax. Why it is not a good thing for India? Since we are largest recipient of remittances, it will discourage the remittances back to India. Why? Because if they will send money back to India, US will charge more taxation. In a very simple sense, USA want the people to invest in US itself rather than sending it back to other countries. Next is related to alternate investment fund. Understand, alternate investment fund in a very simple sense is a privately pooled investment. What does that mean? Let's say there are three people, A1, A2, A3, and so on. These people have money, so they have formed a fund, AIF. Now this fund can be used to, let's say, purchase property. This fund can be used to purchase any other asset. This is basically referred as AIF in oversimplified sense, and it is regulated by SEBI. This year in UPSC prelims exam, there was a question that who is going to regulate. So basically, it is about SEBI. Next is related to predatory pricing. Understand, predatory pricing basically means selling the product at a very low price so that your competitors cannot survive. Let's say this pen is being produced in 10 rupees, but it is being sold in 6 rupees. Why so? So that no one can compete. Once I will be selling at a very low price, no one will be able to compete. I will capture the market, then I can increase the price. That is predatory pricing. For that, recently guidelines were issued. Now understand, for fair competition, we have CCI, that is Competition Commission of India. It is a statutory body as per Competition Act of 2002. Next is related to Payment Regulatory Board. As the name suggests, it is a regulation board for the digital payments. Now, as far as digital payments are concerned, please understand we have Payment and Settlement Systems Act. NPCI, that is National Payment Corporation of India, which is under RBI, is the basic regulator of digital payments. So if the question is that who regulate, ideally answer will be RBI itself, but if RBI is not mentioned and NPCI is mentioned, then NPCI is the answer. Now, what will be the composition of this board? So it will be chaired by the RBI governor. There will be two RBI ex officio members. Ex officio means by virtue of being RBI official. And then there will be three other members who are nominated by the central government. Next is RBI Digital Lending Directions. As the name suggests, these are related to digital lending. What is digital lending? In a very simple sense, online and lending, or let's say app-based lending. That means you can take loan through apps. What is the problem with this app-based approach? Problem is that they give you loan, and when you are not able to pay, then they use wrong methods to recover the money, maybe to blackmail you and all that. So that's why RBI has issued guidelines to protect the borrowers from the fraud and abusive practices in digital lending. Next is related to opinion trading. Understand, opinion trading basically means I am asking you a question. Let's say, who is going to be the next president of USA? You are going to provide your opinion, and if your opinion is correct, you are going to win some money. That is opinion trading. Now understand, as of now there is no regulation to regulate this. This is a kind of gambling because you do not know, you are just guessing it. So that's why SEBI has warned against it, that this is quite complicated and people are losing money because of this. So you are going to bet on a certain outcome. If your prediction is correct, you will win money. If your prediction is not correct, you will lose money. Next is related to our export. So last year our exports were highest ever. Our goods export or merchandise export, they were roughly $437 billion worth, and there was marginal increase in comparison to last year. Last year it was 437.1, this year it was 437.4. But in terms of service export, it was quite significant. Last year it was 341 billion, this year it was 387.5 billion dollars. So roughly there was growth of 13.6%, which is quite high. Overall, there was growth of 6% in our export. Overall basically means by combining these two, that is goods and services. So last year it was $778 billion. This year it was $824 billion of export. Next is related to World Bank Land Conference. So this in this conference, two initiatives of India were highlighted. One is the Swamito scheme. What is the Swamito scheme? So it is an initiative through which property maps are prepared using drone. What is the full form? Survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village area. In a very simple sense, with the help of drone technology, we are preparing the new maps in rural areas. And the second initiative is Gram Manchitra. So basically, this is a kind of map for local areas so that the local authorities can plan accordingly. Next is repairability index. Understand it this way. Let's consider the example of same pen. If I'm purchasing this pen, if there will be some functional issue in this pen? Can I get it repaired by the company? Will it be repaired, or will I have to purchase it again? This is being reflected by the repairability index. See, if it is repairable, then it is a good thing for customer. If it is not repairable, or if it is difficult to get it repaired, then the customer will have to buy it again and again and again. So that's why this repairability index is being published, to show that which items can be easily repaired, which items cannot be repaired. Therefore, customer can make a conscious choice that they should purchase any item which are easily repairable. For example, in a very simple sense, if you understand the auto market, Suzuki is the leader of auto market. Suzuki, Mahindra, Tata, these are the leading players in comparison to companies like, let's say, Skoda or Volkswagen. Reason being, they have decent service presence. Decent service presence basically means their service outlets are quite easily available. So that is how repairability index is being calculated. If your product is easily repairable, it will be good for customer. Therefore, the customer should purchase that one in comparison to a product for which repair service is not easily available. Next is related to Waves Summit. What is this Waves? Waves basically refers to World Audio, Visual and Entertainment Summit. Quite simple. It is basically referred as orange economy or creative economy. Creative economy, orange economy simply means you are creating the entertainment related audio and videos. As simple as that. Recently, this was organized in Mumbai, and during this summit itself, one institution was announced, that is Indian Institute of Creative Technology. The name itself is sufficient. For let's say technology, we have IITs. For management, we have IIM. Similarly, for creative technology, we have this IICT. And that is going to be our last topic. This IICT has been launched. This is going to help in the growth of AVGC XR sector. Now, this full form can be asked. What is AVGC? It is animation, visual effect, gaming and comics. What is XR? It is extended reality. That simply means virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Rural India. Now understand, majority of our country's population reside in rural areas. So what is happening is that in case of urban areas, the income is more or less stagnant, especially after COVID. That means income is not growing faster. And that is why what is happening is that the demand in urban areas is quite low. On the other hand, in case of rural areas, the income is improving in a relatively better way in comparison to urban area. So in rural area, the income growth is relatively better, expenses are relatively lower. And that is why what is happening is that the demand in rural area is increasing. Apart from that, the remittances are increasing, and that is why the entire crux of this entire matter is that the rural consumption is increasing. The growth in rural consumption is better than the growth in rural just a second. Growth in rural consumption is better than the growth in urban consumption. That is the entire crux of this matter. Apart from that, what is happening is that this time, as per IMD, the rainfall is going to be better than normal. So what will happen? The agricultural production will be higher. Therefore, the income of the rural areas will increase, which will drive the consumption. So that is the crux. And that is why what is happening is that the difference between rural and urban consumption, the inequality or the difference between rural and urban consumption, that inequality is going down. This is evident from household consumption expenditure survey. We have covered this survey in our previous parts. Okay. Next is related to quick commerce. Quick commerce basically means they will provide you immediate delivery of items. In this context, please remember one term, that is dark store. Dark store basically means these are mini warehouse. The problem or the criticism of the dark store is that the hygienic conditions are not good. Apart from that, what is good thing about quick commerce is that, of course, they will save your time, they will save your fuel. One good thing about this quick commerce is that they are giving jobs to a lot of people, and this is basically referred as gig economy. Gig economy basically means there are no permanent employees, no traditional employee-employer relationship is there. The people are given a task, and based on that task they are given money. For example, let's say the delivery boys of let's say Blinkit, they are not the permanent employees. They are given payment on the basis of per delivery. So good thing about this gig economy is that it provides some jobs, otherwise the problem of unemployment will be even more serious in our country. Bad thing is that since they are not the permanent employees, the company is not taking care of the welfare of these workers. No company is taking care of the welfare, and that is why the government had introduced a social security code, but it is not implemented effectively as of now. So these are some things which you need to keep in mind. Next is related to aviation safety. So quite generic points are there. This entire incident was there because of the crash of Air India flight. Now, for that, DGCA, that is Directorate General of Civil Aviation, had issued various guidelines. Understand, in our country, there is a shortage of maintenance staff and a trained pilot. And that's why what is happening is that the pilots are working beyond the time, and that's why they are not able to have complete rest. This adversely impact their mental health as well. So that is why we need to modernize our entire system. We need to modernize our oversight also. We need to make sure that the things are maintained properly, inspections are conducted on time. Now in this context, there is one term, this is not mentioned in the magazine, but this is from the editorial of The Hindu, and that is Swiss cheese model of safety. Now understand, let's say there are five safety mechanism. Now if there is a defect in one, nothing major no major disaster will happen, because rest four are working fine. But what happens is that there are minor defects in each of the model. Then what will happen? Then there will be a big disastrous event. So this model of safety says that it's it is not okay if there is a minor defect, because this minor defect, if it is combined with other minor defects, then it is going to create a lot of problems. Okay. Next topic is related to asset monetization pipeline or national monetization pipeline. Now understand what is monetization. Let's say there is an airport. Now government can sell this airport, which is basically referred as privatization. But what if government is able to generate revenue without selling it? That is basically referred as monetization. So this airport is given on lease. Government is owner, but private party is operating it. So the revenue right or right to generate revenue has been transferred to the private player. Why to the private player? Because they are more efficient. What benefit will be there in this case? Because private player will be able to generate more money, government will be able to recover more money. Government is going to get a share from that revenue. Okay, that is the national national monetization pipeline. Now understand, the NMP 1, national monetization pipeline 1, had the goal of 6 lakh crore revenue generation. The NMP 2, which was announced in the recent budget, this have a goal of generation of 10 lakh crore rupees. Okay, now the old projects, the existing projects, they are basically referred as brownfield project. So what we are doing is that we are utilizing our brownfield project, and then we will use this money to fund our new project. New project are basically referred as greenfield project. Greenfield project basically means new project. So we are going to utilize this money to fund our new projects initiative, that is National Infrastructure Pipeline. Actually this is old name. The new name of this initiative is PM Gati Shakti. So in a very simple sense, utilizing our old projects, we are generating more revenue. So can I simply say that NMP, that is National Monetization Pipeline, just a second, NMP will help in financing PM Gati Shakti, or this is about brownfield project. Brownfield basically means, brownfield simply means old project, and this is about green project, greenfield project. Greenfield basically means new project. Please understand, it has nothing to do with environment friendly. Greenfield basically means a new project is there. Okay, what is the criticism? Criticism is that the focus is on few sectors only, so other sectors are not highlighted. And second criticism is that, let's say, airports. So most of the airports are given to, let's say, Adani Group. Now this is being criticized, that why you are giving all the airports to a particular group. The counter argument of the government is that we need someone who is having experience. Now since Adani Group is having experience, that's why it is easier for them to give one more airport to them. So that is why they are giving. They are not doing any partiality here. So you need to understand both sides of the story. Next is related to FDI. Now understand, in this FDI you need not to mug up anything. Just understand, this is our country. FDI is coming into our country. This is inflow. Some of it may go out. That is outflow. So the difference between inflow and outflow, that is referred as net FDI. So this is gross. Gross means total. Now in case of India, there is one trend is that gross inflow is okay. Nothing much is happening in that case. It is stable, it is good. But what is happening is that outflow has increased, and that's why our net FDI has gone down. Okay, so total FDI inflows has dipped. It's not that they are same. They have gone down, but they have not gone down tremendously. But what is happening is that our net FDI has gone down significantly. Why net FDI has gone down significantly? Because of higher outflow. Why there is higher outflow? Understand, the business environment is not good. Why I am saying business environment is not good? Because it is quite complex. A lot of paperwork is required, plus there is huge delay in the project clearance. That's why the economic survey of this year had also focused on one term, that is deregulation. What is the meaning of this term, deregulation? It simply means we have to simplify our business environment so that the companies need not to look for other alternatives. Other alternatives means other countries. Next is financing for sustainable development. Understand, sustainable development basically means development which is long lasting. Okay, now for that we need a lot of resources. Now for that there was fourth international conference on financing the development, that is FFD4. Quite simple, the name itself is self explanatory, that this was a conference to arrange the financial resources for the sustainable development. This was organized in Spain, and subsequently there was Seville Commitment. In a very simple sense, it is the name of the place where it was organized. So Seville Commitment are related to, this can be a very simple straightforward question, they are related to arranging the financial resources for sustainable development. Now this was adopted, and the objective is to arrange roughly 4 trillion annual SDG financing gap. Gap basically means this is the difference between the amount which is required and the amount which is available. Understand, following the pattern, US decided to exit. So nowadays US have clear cut pattern that whenever they have to contribute some money, they are not going to be the part of it. Now as far as SDG is concerned, understand, there are 17 goals, 169 targets, and the objective is to complete them by 2030. In case of India, Niti Aayog is the apex organization for SDG, and Niti Aayog released SDG India Index. As per this index, Kerala and Uttarakhand are on top position, and Bihar is on bottom position with a score of 57. The score of Kerala and Uttarakhand is 79. Overall score of India is 71. So these are some important things which you need to keep in mind. Now there is a global SDG index also, and that SDG index is released by UNSDSN. What is SDSN? Sustainable Development Solution Network. As per that report, India for the first time has entered into top 100. So India's current ranking is 99th, which is our best performance so far. Okay. Next is related to Amrut mission. As the name suggests, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. Urban transformation basically means we are focusing on the development of infrastructure in urban areas. Okay, why this scheme was in news recently? Because it completed 10 years. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. Understand, sponsored basically means central government is going to provide some resources and rest of the resources will be arranged by the state government. Then there is a central sector scheme. In that case, 100% funding is provided by the central government. Now this is implemented through Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Please understand one thing, our urban bodies lack financial resources and that's why they are heavily dependent on state and central government. Now the focus is on the fact that they need to generate their own resources. That's why the concept self finance. Apart from that, we are also focusing on climate resilient infrastructure in urban areas. The government of India had also announced Urban Challenge Fund. This is a fund of corpus of 1 lakh crore. Objective is to focus on the urban infrastructure. So these are some of the important things. Next is related to digital payment intelligence platform. As the name suggests, it is related to digital payments. For what purpose? To detect the digital payment fraud in real time. Real time basically means right now if they are happening, so the platform will basically alert the authorities about it. This is an initiative by RBI. So the objective is to curb the initiative to curb the frauds such as any kind of payment fraud. For example, the scamsters demand OTP and all that. So we can take action against them. Now, as far as these crimes are concerned, cyber crimes are concerned, please understand one more thing, that is I4C. Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center is there, which is under MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, next is related to PSL norms for SFB. What are SFB? Small Finance Bank. Please understand, they are not different from Universal Bank. The only difference is that they need to focus on small borrowers. Now, can they operate in entire country? Yes, they can. Examiner can set a trap that they can operate only in certain areas. That's why the name small. But the small is about focus on small borrowers, not about area. Okay. Now they have to write this keyword in the end of the name, that is SFB, Small Finance Bank. Now what is happening is that since their focus is on small borrowers, there's a high risk, and that's why they are not able to expand their business. So previously for them the PSL requirement was 75%. What is PSL? In a very simple sense, banks need to give credit to these sectors such as agriculture is there, such as MSME is there. Banks do not prefer to give loan to these sectors because of high risk. For example, in case of agriculture, risk is high because A, there is no monthly income, B, there is no fixed income even after 6 months. So banks do not prefer. But these sectors are very crucial for our economy, and that is why RBI had given instructions to give loan to these sectors. These are basically referred as PSL guidelines. So for DCB, that is domestic commercial banks, it is 40%. In an oversimplified sense, if any bank is giving loan of 100 rupees, 40 rupees need to be given to the priority sectors. In case of SFB, it was 75. But SFB said that this way we are struggling to scale our business, we are struggling to make profits. That's why this guideline has been revised to 60%. That means now they need to provide 60% of their loan to PSL. Rest can be given to other sectors. Next is related to Sagarmala Finance Corporation Limited. Understand, there is a Sagarmala initiative. What is the objective of this initiative? Objective is a port-led development. In a very simple sense, the focus is on development of port infrastructure. For that we need resources. For that, government has recently approved this SMFCL. What is SMFCL? It is Sagarmala Finance Corporation Limited. In a very simple sense, this is going to provide financial resources for Sagarmala initiative. And this is first NBFC in maritime sector. Since it is focusing on port sector, that's why the term maritime sector. NBFC basically means these are the financial companies which provide financial services, but they are not the conventional banks. So this NBFC is going to focus clearly and only on the maritime sector. This is not a conventional bank where everyone can get loan. The loans will be provided, but only for the maritime sector development. That is the meaning. Next is related to India's PRV. PRV is Polar Research Vessel. As the name suggests, it is a vessel for research in polar areas. It is going to be indigenous, that is made in India. For that, recently an agreement has been signed between GRSE, that is Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, and the Kongsberg. This is the company of Norway. So they will assist GRSC in making this indigenous PRV. Next is related to report on the value of output from agriculture and allied sectors. Again, nothing much here. Just understand one thing. Agriculture sector still provide employment to roughly 50% population of our country. The contribution in GDP is roughly 16%. So in a very simple sense, the contribution is roughly one-fifth in GDP and contribution in employment is roughly half. That is why the agriculture sector is facing the problem of over dependency and disguised unemployment. Now, what is this disguised unemployment? In a very simple sense, the requirement is, let's say, of 5 people, but 8 people are engaged into this thing. Why 8 people are engaged? Because they do not have other employment opportunity in other sectors, in secondary and tertiary. So that's why they are over dependent on agriculture. Now, can I simply say requirement was of 3, 8 are engaged. So these 3 people are technically unemployed. Next is related to modified interest subvention scheme. Nothing need to be crammed. Interest subvention basically means discount on interest rate is given. Subvention is nothing but discount. So if you are taking loan, government is saying if you will repay this loan on time, we will provide you discount on the interest rate. So for farmers, this is interest subvention scheme. The objective is to provide them short-term credit. Short-term credit for their immediate needs. This will be given at a lower interest rate through KCC. KCC were introduced through RV Gupta committee. Okay, who is going to implement this scheme? RBI with NABARD. What is NABARD? National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So basically loans will be given at the interest rate of 7%. Now, if the loans are paid on a time, then further incentives are given in the form of lower interest. So up to 3 lakh will be given at a subsidized interest rate of 7% with 1.5% interest subvention provided to eligible lending institutions. That simply means, understand why bank will provide a lower interest rate. It is loss for them. So government is saying you charge lower interest from the farmer, the remaining interest will be paid by the government. That is the concept. So farmer will receive loan at lower interest rate. Government will pay the remaining interest to the banks. So for banks, it is not a loss because they are receiving the same interest which they would have charged. But farmer is not going to pay the same interest. It will be paid by the government. Some amount will be paid by the government. Some amount will be paid by the farmer. Next is related to ICR ISET. What is ICR ISET? Basically, it is Center of Excellence for South-South Cooperation, and this has been launched in Hyderabad. Now, as the name suggests, South-South Cooperation basically means countries of Global South. For that purpose, it has signed a recent agreement with Research and Information System for Developing Countries. Okay. Next is related to National Turmeric Board. So recently this board was set up to give a boost to the turmeric sector. Turmeric is also known as golden spice. So this board will have its headquarters in Nizamabad in Telangana. Next is and last news is related to nano fertilizers. Now, what is nano? Understand, nano simply means there is a coating of nanomaterial around the fertilizer. What is the benefit of this coating? This will slow down the release of that fertilizer. If it will be released slowly, the efficiency will increase. So understand one thing. because of this coating, the efficiency will increase. If efficiency will increase, you need to use less fertilizer, so that will save your cost. That is about nano fertilizer. Now, why it was in news? Because IFCO, that is Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited, IFCO is going to set up its own first overseas means outside India, nano fertilizer plant, and that will be in Brazil. Please remember one thing, that the world's first nano liquid urea was launched by IFCO, and the first plant was set up in Kalol. This was in Gujarat. Subsequently, in 2023, IFCO had launched nano DAP. What is DAP? Diammonium phosphate. So in our country, urea is most used fertilizer, and the second most used fertilizer is DAP, diammonium phosphate. Okay, so now we are going to cover the current affairs of July month. Now understand, the government in the budget had announced Pradhan Mantri Dhandhan Yojana. In this scheme, basically what we are focusing on the 100 most backward district in the agriculture sector. This is inspired from the aspirational district program of Niti Aayog. What is that aspirational district program? We are selecting the backward district and we are trying to monitor their performance on monthly basis, that what they are doing in terms of upgrading their infrastructure. Similarly, we are going to focus on the 100 most backward districts. Okay, so 100 districts will be selected. Maximum 12 districts are selected from UP, that is Uttar Pradesh. So just remember this thing, total 100. Out of that, UP has highest number of districts under this program. Now, how we are going to select a district, whether it is backward or not? One is basically, just remember this thing. One is credit facility, that whether it is having sufficient credit facility or not, whether the cropping intensity is good or not. What is cropping intensity? Cropping intensity in a very simple sense means how many crops are cultivated in a particular area in a year. So let's say if 2 crops are cultivated, the cropping intensity is going to be 2. Okay. Now problem is that majority of our area is based on rainfall, means they are dependent on rainfall. That's why it is sometimes not possible to cultivate 2 crops, and that's why the cropping intensity is less than 2. Now there will be 3 level monitoring, at national level, at state level, and at district level, which will be chaired by, at district level it will be chaired by DC. Next is related to public debt in India. So understand, there is a report by RBI, that is a Financial Stability Report, FSR. So this report is prepared by the subcommittee. This report is prepared by the subcommittee of FSDC. What is FSDC? Financial Stability and Development Council. Just remember 2 things. FSDC FSDC is executive body. That's first thing. It was set up in 2010 on the recommendation of Raghuram Rajan committee. 2-3 important council as far as economy is concerned. One is GST Council, which is a constitutional body as per Article 279A. It is headed by Union Finance Minister. Then we have Monetary Policy Committee, which is statutory body as per RBI Act, and that is headed by the RBI Governor. In this case, FSDC is headed by the Union Finance Minister again, but this one is executive. So 3 important bodies. One is constitutional, GST Council. One is statutory, that is Monetary Policy Committee. And one is executive, that is FSDC. Okay, so this report highlighted the rising trend of public debt. See, as far as FRBM Act is concerned, the limitation on the general public debt should be, upper limit should be 60%. 40% for the center, 20% for the states out of the 60. But the problem is right now our debt is way beyond this limit, especially because of COVID. The government had to borrow money to give a boost to the economy, in a very simple sense, to follow the expansionary policy. Okay. So our public debt to GDP ratio is more than 80%, which is higher than emerging market economies. As per FRBM, it should have been 40 plus 20, that is 60%. Now, what is our target? Target is that we will reach to debt to GDP ratio to 50 plus minus 1% by 2031. Okay. Next is related to employment linked incentive scheme. In a very simple sense, government is giving incentive for the employment generation. Okay, why it is required? Because we have young working age population, we need to create jobs. For that, we have to give incentive to the employers so that they can create more and more jobs. Okay, so there are multiple parts of this scheme. First part is related to incentive for the first time employees. So this is for employees. So what is being done in this case? Those employees which are registered with EPFO, government is providing 1 month EPF wage, that is maximum 15,000, which is to be paid in 2 installment. So in a very simple sense, government is saying, okay, we will pay your EPF wage. If you are registered with EPFO, we are going to pay your share and we are going to provide it in 2 installments. Okay, this will be DBT. DBT basically means direct benefit transfer to whom? To employee. Then there is a benefit provision for employers also, the employers who are registered with EPFO. It is for those workers whose salary is up to 1 lakh rupee. So what government is doing? Government is providing an incentive of 1,000 to 3,000 rupee per employee per month for 2 years. Understand, this is a provision of per employee per month. So the amount may seem very small, but obviously if government is going to provide this amount for every new employment per employee per month for 2 years, then of course the amount is going to be huge enough. For manufacturing, there are extra benefit of additional 2 years. Why manufacturing? Again, it is a labor intensive sector, we can create more jobs. Next is related to future of work. So understand, nothing can be asked from this in a very simple sense. The possibility is quite low. It is saying that AI is going to adversely impact our job market. We have already discussed it multiple times. So just remember this thing. Next is related to RDI scheme. What is RDI? Research and Development and Innovation. So to improve our business environment, the government had set up this scheme with a corpus of 1 lakh crore. Understand, our investment into research is quite low. It is 0.6% of GDP. Out of that, majority is coming from the public sector, that is coming from the government. In other countries, it is coming from the private sector. So that is a biggest challenge which we are facing, because government will have limited capacity to finance innovation, but it need to create right kind of business environment. It need to create right kind of environment for innovation, so that private sector can come and invest for innovation. For that purpose, this RDI scheme is there. Corpus is 1 lakh crore. This is an initiative by Department of Science and Technology. Now, in this case, the funding or the financial support is based on the level of technology. Now, these technologies are mentioned as per this TRL. What is TRL? Technology readiness level. In a very simple sense, different layers are there. If your project is highly advanced, then it is going to have the level of TRL 9. That is 9 is the highest level. Okay, so TR level 1 to 3, they are very basic research. 4 to 6, they are advanced research, and 7 to 9 is highly advanced research. Okay, next is related to financial inclusion in India. Financial inclusion basically means providing financial services to the people, those who did not had access to it. For this purpose, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana was announced by the government in, I think, 2015. Bank accounts were opened. Now, this financial inclusion index is published by RBI, and as per this, the score was 67 in 2025. So it is having these three indicators: usage and quality. Usage have highest weightage of 45%. Next is related to Digital India Mission. Why it was in use? Because of 10 years. Now understand, as far as digitization is concerned, some people have better access to digital technology, some don't. That's why there is a gap. This gap is referred as a digital divide. So this Digital India Mission is an initiative of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Now there are various data related to gap. Again, you need not to mug it up as of now. It will be more useful in mains stage. Apart from that, because of digitization and lack of digital awareness, there is a risk of cybersecurity, for example, digital arrest, and then there is a risk of data breach. To address the problem of data breach, the government had introduced some rules as a part of DPDP. What is DPDP? Digital Personal Data Protection Act. Okay, Section 44 of DPDP is in conflict with Section 8 of RTI. We have already covered this part in the polity section. So if you have not covered it from there, please cover it. It is important. Question can be asked. Next is related to IPR in India. First thing first, what is IPR? IPR is intellectual property right. That means rules and regulations to protect the intellectual property. What is intellectual property? Intellectual property simply means creation of human mind. Okay, let's say you have written a book. That is your intellectual property. To protect your work, copyright can be provided. Copyright is provided for artistic work, and patent is provided for any kind of discovery or for any kind of innovation actually. Okay, patent is given for the 20 years. Now basically this report says that our patent has increased, IP filing has increased by 44%. Again, you need not to mug up the number, understand the concept. Apart from that, there is a concept of geographical indication. In a very simple sense, this is a status given to a product because it have unique features due to that geography. Okay, this is given for 10 years. It can be renewed. The first product to receive GI tag status in our country was Darjeeling tea. Now understand, tea, there is a term before tea, that is Darjeeling. That simply means it is having unique features because of that particular geography, that is Darjeeling in this case. Now for IPR education, there is a scheme SPRIH, SPRIHA scheme. Okay, just remember this thing. As far as India's global ranking in WIPO is concerned, WIPO is World Intellectual Property Organization. So basically, this is responsible for the implementation of various treaties related to intellectual property. So India is on 6th position in terms of global patent filing, and in terms of trademark, it is on 4th position, and in terms of patent granted, it is on number 1 position. Next is related to AIF, that is Alternative Investment Fund. Understand, let's say you want to invest into stock market, okay, but you don't know how to do it, or you are too afraid to take the risk. So you will go to a person who is expert into this, or at least who says that I am the expert and I can invest your money. This person is basically, or this entire concept is referred as mutual fund. That means the person will collect money from different people and will invest into stock market. That is mutual fund. Similarly, if money is collected from different investors, privately pooled money, and then it is invested into some specific project, that is referred as AIF, Alternative Investment Fund. Alternative to what? Alternative to regular investment mechanism. So in this case, the investment could be in some different projects. No specific aspect is there. Usually they are used for hedging. What is hedging? Hedging basically means to minimize your risk. Let's say uh, you have decent amount of money you have invested into stock market, but what if the investment goes wrong? What if you lose your money? So to diversify that risk, this is concentrated risk, all your money is in stock market. To diversify that risk, what you are doing, you are investing a part of your money into some other asset class. In this case, the objective behind alternative investment fund is to diversify the risk. Okay, so AIF is privately pooled fund. Basically, these are rich people, not some common man with 5,000 or 10,000. They usually are HNI, high net worth individuals. Okay. Now understand, in 2025 there was a question. Please remember, AIF are regulated by SEBI because it is related to investment. Okay. Next is related to Digital Payment Index. So it is published by RBI, and it is published semi-annually. That means twice a year. And these are the parameters of this index. payment enabler, payment infrastructure, payment performance, and payment consumer centricity. That means how simple is it for consumer, or to what extent consumer is the central point of this entire transaction. It should be convenient for the consumer. Next is related to financial conditions index. The name itself says that this index will reflect the financial condition. So this has been proposed by RBI. Since it is a proposal, of course, it cannot be asked in that sense, but you can use it in mains answer that we need to have an index which reflect the financial condition so that we can take decision accordingly. These are going to be the 5 pillars of this. Again, no need to mug up because it is still a proposal. Next is global findex index. This is related to World Bank. So World Bank released it. What it is a combination of two terms. One is financial index. So it talks about financial and digital inclusion. To what extent we are including those who don't have financial services, and we are including those who don't have digital services. Next is related to stablecoin. Understand the concept of cryptocurrency. Crypto means hidden. The problem with cryptocurrency is that they don't have any asset to back. Let me give you a very simple example. Let's say you have a currency note of 500 rupees. That is just a piece of paper. The value of that currency note is because of the signature of RBI governor. In a very simple sense, RBI governor or RBI as an institution is saying that we are assuring you the value of 500 rupees. The problem with crypto is that there is no such central regulatory authority. So what if the value of that currency goes down? No one is responsible. So today you may be a billionaire, tomorrow you will be nothing. That's why what is being done, these cryptocurrencies, they are associated to some stable asset. For example, any cryptocurrency which is linked to let's say dollar. So in that case, it is associated to some stable currency or some stable asset. It could be currency, it could be gold or anything. That is referred as stable coin. Coin basically refers to the features of cryptocurrency. Stable basically refers to its linkage to the stable currency. So recently, US was in news because of Genius Act. This can be asked that which country or Genius Act was in news. It is related to which country. So it provides the regulatory framework for the stable coin. Okay. For example, Tether, that is a US dollar linked cryptocurrency. Now understand, US was also in news because they have decided to set up the crypto reserve, that they are going to store different type of cryptocurrencies. Now, as far as India is concerned, understand two important things. India is working on its own digital currency, that is CBDC, which will be backed by RBI. Before Trump, US was also working on similar kind of project, but after Trump, rather than having their own cryptocurrency or own digital currency, they have decided to support other currencies, other cryptocurrencies. So understand the difference in approach. We are saying we will have one digital currency, which will be digital version of our physical currency, which will be backed by RBI. On the other hand, in case of USA, they are saying, okay, we will have our dollar, we will support cryptocurrencies, but you need to connect this cryptocurrency to the dollar so that there is some element of stability. Okay. Now understand, as far as India is concerned, we impose 30% taxation on the gains from the virtual digital asset. Virtual digital asset basically means these are virtual, they are created digitally. Asset basically means, okay, something beneficial is there. So let's say you have invested into cryptocurrency and you have made a profit of 100 rupee, 30% will be collected as a tax. Next is related to crop pick. So just remember crop and pick. So it is a collection of real-time observatories and photos of crops. The term itself is self-explanatory. We are using our space technology to capture the pics or to capture the pictures of the crops. Crop plus pick. So this will be quite useful for Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, which is a crop insurance scheme. Next is Agriculture Outlook 2025-34. So it is a report released by OECD in collaboration with FAO. Just remember the name of the institutions which have released it. Next is related to offshore area atomic minerals right. Understand? Offshore basically means away from the shore. So we are trying to explore more and more minerals. Uh, there is a national critical mineral mission. The objective is to boost our domestic production so that we don't have to import it. Right now, we are heavily dependent on imports, especially imports from the China. So to deal with that problem, the government had announced that mission, and now we are giving more and more exploration right. So it is in that context. So the government has basically provided exploration rights for atomic minerals in the offshore areas. Now understand, we don't have that much uranium reserves. That's why in our nuclear program, we are planning to use our thorium reserves. Thorium is mainly found in the monazite sand on the coast of Kerala and Odisha. Understand one more thing. Our objective is that by 2047, we will have 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy. That is going to be our energy generation capacity. For that, we have to utilize these reserves. Now, as far as uranium is concerned, the first commercial scale uranium production site is Jadugoda mines in Jharkhand. Remember this thing. Next is related to GCC, Global Capability Center. Try to understand it this way. There is a concept of coal center. In a very simple sense, some US company will have their coal center services in India. That is very simple outline. Okay, this is BPO, business processing outsourcing. In a very simple sense, they are outsourcing a kind of business activity. Okay, now we are saying, why only call center? Why not to set up advanced branches in India? Let's say accounting, let's say legal, let's say financial. Okay, these are referred as GCC, Global Capability Center. Why India? Because we have young population, we have educated population, and that can provide the services at a cheaper cost. Try to understand it this way. Let's say any company in USA have to set up their accounting branch. So if they are going to set up the same branch in USA, it will cost them more. They can outsource it and they can set up it in India. With the help of technology, it can be easily done. Okay, so branch will be in India. It will provide services to the US office. So this way, they will be able to cut down their cost and it will create employment in our country. That is the concept of GCC. Next is related to draft national telecom policy. Since it is draft, again, you need not to go into too much details. The objective of this policy is clear, that we want to be a nation of choice for the telecom technology. That simply means we will create a right kind of business environment for the growth of telecom sector. Next is related to aluminium and copper vision document. So recently government issued this document. As per this copper vision document, there will be six-fold rise in the demand of the copper by 2047, and there will be six-fold rise in the demand of aluminium by there will be six-fold rise in the production of aluminium by 2047. Okay, as far as the production is concerned, in case of aluminium reserve, Odisha is on top position. In terms of production, Odisha is on top position. In terms of global level, China is on top position. As far as copper is concerned, so Rajasthan is on top position. And in terms of production, this is copper reserve. In terms of production of copper, Madhya Pradesh is on top position. Globally, Chile is on top position. Okay, so now we will move to the next part. Topic is product nation. Now understand in a very simple sense. See, product nation basically means the nation which design products, which manufacture products and sell products. Then there is service nation, which basically focus more on the production of services rather than the goods. The problem is that India do not invest much into R&D. So we R&D is not our strength. We are not able to innovate new products. We are trying to generate jobs through manufacturing. But there is a fundamental issue. What is that issue? Understand, when we are manufacturing, basically we are assembling. And in assembly, you do not have a kind of premium price strength, or you do not have capability to charge premium price, because if you will make it costly, the manufacturing can be shifted to some other place. You do not have much power in this case. The maximum revenue will come from steps like designing a product, steps like sales, that simply means after production. So that's why this article simply says that we need to focus more on the innovation part. In that context, there is one smile curve concept. See, this is smile. So maximum revenue potential is at the designing level. You are building a new product. So innovation is going to play a critical role. For example, iPhone. So US is going to, or Apple is going to set up its base related to R&D in US. Then the manufacturing will be done in a cheaper country like China. And then they are going to sell it throughout the world. So in this case, understand, manufacturing is not giving you the competitive edge. The competitive edge is given by the innovation. For that, we need to spend more money on R&D. So this article simply highlights that thing, that we need to transform India into a global hub for product innovation and manufacturing. Merely focus on assembling, that will not be beneficial in a longer run. Why so? Because in future, assembly of the products, that will be done by machines. So there will be a lot of job loss. So we should be better prepared for that. So coming back to the smile curve, so maximum revenue potential will be at this point. Let me write down these 3 points. A, B, and C. A, basically the beginning of the product, that is innovation. B is, let's say, manufacturing, and C is, let's say, after manufacturing, the sales, marketing, etc. Or let's say marketing. So maximum revenue potential is at A and C. At B, it is not going to be much potential, because it is merely assembling. Anyone can do it in a cheaper manner. Therefore, there is too much competition. In innovation, you have a capability to charge premium price. So we should focus more on innovation. Next is related to regional imbalances in India. This is a generic kind of article, nothing new here in this case. The Parliamentary Standing Committee recommended action to evenly distribute industries. Right now, understand, the South India is relatively better industrialized. North India is not that much industrialized, especially states like Bihar. They have industrial backwardness. So we need to fill these gaps, because ultimately, understand, ultimately we have to achieve inclusive growth. In order to achieve inclusive growth, we need to focus on those parts which are backward. So that is it. Next is related to internationalization of rupee. Understand, in a very simple sense, we are too much dependent on dollar. Now we want to reduce this dependency on dollar. This is referred as a de-dollarization. Instead of dollar, we want to promote the use of rupee. That is referred as internationalization of rupee. So nothing new in this case. We have already covered all these issues in the economy section of previous months. Next is related to FRBM Act. In a very simple sense, FRBM refers to Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act. That simply means how much government can borrow. So this act set a limitation on the borrowing power of the government. So recently CAG analyzed the financial statements. In this context, understand, if the government borrowing is too much, what will happen? Government need to pay more interest, and payment of interest is not a productive activity, because it does not lead to any asset creation. Government should focus more on the capital expenditure, that is capex, which will create infrastructure. So that's why too much borrowing is criticized, because it will not create any kind of long-term asset. Next is related to blue economy. Again, more or less everything is very generic. We have covered it earlier. Why it was in news? Because a white paper was released. White paper basically means a detailed document was released related to our strategy till 2035. So it is quite important for us, because it contributes 4% of our resources, of our GDP, and significant trade passes through the ports. So for port development, we have Sagarmala initiative, that is port-led development. For financing these infrastructure projects related to ports. Recently, the first NBFC in maritime sector was approved. What is NBFC? Non-banking financial company. What was the name of that NBFC? That is Sagarmala NBFC. Now there are four case studies which are given in this case. Let's try to cover them one by one. First is Kochi Digital Port. Digital port basically means you have the digital architecture of that port, so you can understand how we can make it more efficient. For example, if any particular area is less efficient in a port, then we can change what is blocking that, and subsequently we can improve the efficiency. It's like a digital model of any particular road. In that road, let's say there is a congestion or traffic jam on daily basis, so what we can do, we can find out alternative route. Similarly, on a particular port, what is causing the slow of that port, that means why the progress is slow, so we can find that out. That is one such example. Second is along ship breaking industry. So this is situated in Gujarat. Now ship breaking basically means old ship, they will be dismantled, and then we are going to recycle these components. This is going to promote the circular economy. Then there is a seaweed farming. Now understand, too much dependency on marine resources such as fish will create problem because these resources are depleting. That's why in Odisha, seaweed farming was promoted, and it is giving us good results. So this can be an alternative income source for the fishermen. Right now they are heavily dependent on the fish. And next is Andaman ecotourism. As the name suggests, ecotourism basically means we will promote tourism, but it should be in a sustainable manner. It should not have adverse impact on our environment. So these are some of the case studies which you can quote. Next is related to MMDR, that is Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act. See, I think 3 months ago we have covered National Critical Mineral Policy or National Mission on Critical Minerals. The problem with our country is that we are heavily dependent on import of these minerals. So somehow we need to increase the production in our country. For that, recently the amendment was done into this MMDR. What are these changes? So significant changes are that first, there will be National Mineral Exploration and Development Trust. The name itself is self-explanatory. It is a trust to promote the mineral exploration. So ultimately it is going to support the National Critical Mineral Mission. Then there is a provision of inclusion of other minerals in mining lease. Now again, let me simplify it. Let's say this area, this has been given on lease for mineral A. Okay. Now let's say the exploration team found that mineral B is also available. So now we can extend the lease and we can include A plus B. That is the meaning of this term, inclusion of other minerals in a mining lease. Okay. Now understand, previously this red area was allocated for the lease. Let's say they have found out minerals in this area. New area is there. So we can expand the lease area also. That is the next provision. That is inclusion of contiguous area. So if the deep-seated minerals basically means they are available on a depth. So deep-seated minerals, if there is a possibility of that, so the lease area can be increased. In previous case, we have included the coverage of minerals. In this case, we have expanded the area. Okay, and then there is a establishment of mineral exchange, just like stock exchange. We can buy and sell. Similarly, on mineral exchange, you can buy and sell mineral resources. Okay, next is related to gig worker. Very simple topic which has been repeated multiple times. Gig worker do not have 9 to 5 job. They are paid according to gig. Swiggy, Zomato workers, they are gig workers. They can be further classified as platform based gig workers and non-platform based gig workers. Platform basically means some kind of software application, etc. Why it was in news? Because recently Karnataka government have introduced a bill for the welfare of gig workers. So a gig worker welfare board will be set up. This board will make provisions related to the welfare of gig workers. Why they are facing a problem right now? Because they are not the permanent employee of any particular company. And that is why what is happening is that there is too much exploitation. So to address this problem, Karnataka government have introduced the bill. The name of the bill is again Karnataka Platform-Based Gig Workers Social Security Welfare Bill 2025. So there will be establishment of a welfare board. Next is related to Income Tax Act. So understand two important provisions, actually three. One, the rules have been simplified. That is one change. Second is now the income tax authorities, during any raid, now the income tax authorities will be able to look into your digital devices. Now, the criticism of this decision is that it is a violation of privacy. There is a counter argument. Counter argument is that now everything is managed digitally. If IT department will not be able to look into your digital devices, there's no point of that kind of raid, because almost everything is managed digitally. Now there are two conflicting issues. One is your right to privacy. Second is that these raids, they should be able to find out the actual information. Those information is in digital devices, so that's why they have now power to seize your digital devices. So that is a second change. Third is between MAT and AMT. Now again, uh, understand there's a concept of zero tax companies. Zero tax companies basically means these companies do not pay any tax. They have taken benefits of various provisions and now their tax liability is zero. That's a loss of revenue for the government. The government introduced MAT, minimum alternative tax. That means if you are not paying corporate tax, you will have to pay MAT, minimum alternative tax. This is MAT. This is for companies. For non-companies entities, there is AMT, alternative minimum tax. So this recent change in the Income Tax Act, that has separated it. That simply means now there are two different provisions. One is AMT. AMT is going to be for non-companies, and MAT. MAT is for companies. What is MAT? Minimum alternative tax. So AMT will be applicable to non-corporate. Non-corporate means non-companies. And next is virtual digital space. We have already covered that. Now income tax authorities will be able to look into your digital devices. So now they are empowered to access a virtual digital space during a search and seizure proceedings. Next is related to ESG norms. Now understand there are two important provisions. One is CSR, corporate social responsibility. That is legal obligation for the companies. That simply means companies need to spend some part of their profit into social responsibilities. CSR have legal backing under Corporate Companies Act of 2013. On similar lines, there is provision of ESG, environmental, social, and governance norms. That simply means if there is a company, what it is doing for environment, what are its responsibility towards society, and is there any transparency in its governance? See, governance basically means how companies conduct their business. This is referred as corporate governance, which is part of your GS paper 4 as well. Corporate governance basically means how companies conduct their operations. Is there any transparency, morality? All these things are there. For example, you might have read this blue smart cab issue, that the founders, they misuse the money of company for their personal gains. That is a violation of corporate governance provisions. Okay, so ESG norms basically focus on these three parts: environment, social, and governance. The problem is that there is no legal backing for this, just like CSR. So that's why there was a recommendation that it should also be included into the Companies Act. Now, the top 1000 companies. For top 1000 companies, SEBI have specified BRSR. The name itself is self-explanatory: business responsibility and sustainability reporting. That how their business activities are sustainable, not having any adverse impact on environment and all that. Recently it was in news because of a certain recommendation that now this ESG norm should be given the legal backing. In 2025 prelims also there was a question on the same aspect, and the examiner very smartly have said that RBI is going to give directions related to this. Why RBI is going to give direction related to companies? For companies, we have SEBI, that is Security and Exchange Board of India. Now, in this context, there is a term greenwashing also. Greenwashing basically means my product is not environment friendly, but I am claiming that it is. Why I am claiming? Just to ensure compliance with these ESG norms. in a very simple sense. UPSC had already asked a question on greenwashing. Just remember, product is not environment friendly, still companies claim that it is. Next is related to CCI, that is Competition Commission of India. See, the main objective of CCI is to ensure the fair competition into our market. It's just like invigilator into examination hall. Invigilator makes sure that everyone appear in the exam in a fair manner. No one is cheating. Similarly, CCI ensure that in business, no one is following the unfair practices just to completely eliminate their competition. For example, what can happen is the big companies, they can completely eliminate the small companies who are trying to act as their competition. So for that issue, we have CCI. It is a body set up under the provisions of Companies Act of 2002. Sorry, Competition Act of 2002. Now, in this context, there is one term, gatekeepers. See, gatekeepers basically refers to these big tech companies. For example, Google is there, Apple is there, Facebook is there. So these companies will decide the interaction between the business and the consumers. Let me give you one simple example. What is the role of the gatekeeper which is sitting on the gate of your society? The gatekeeper will ensure who is entering into the society, who is not allowed to enter. Now, what is the allegation? Allegation is that companies like Google, they have long-term partnership with certain products. That simply means, let's say, I'm giving a very basic example. On Android phone, if you are purchasing a new phone, certain apps will be pre-installed. That simply means Google is deciding which app is important for you, which is not, and basically it is guiding your choices. So that is why there is a criticism that they are controlling your access between the consumer and the businesses. Recently, there was a case that XAI have filed a case against the Apple for its integration of ChatGPT into iOS. Now understand, if Apple device will have integrated ChatGPT, that means in most of the chances user will by default use that one. So other AI platforms, they will be kind of sidelined. So that's why it is kind of against the sense of competition. Next is related to Indian Ports Act. Again, just remember one thing, under this act there is a provision of Maritime State Development Council, MSDC. This MSDC will be chaired by Union Ports Minister or Union Minister of Ports and Shipping. Problem is that now this will have members from the state boards also. So the argument of the states is that you are taking our freedom. Previously, these issues were managed by the state board. Now you are setting up a central board. The central board will give direction. So the state's autonomy related to port development, that is fading. That is the criticism of this recent decision. What is counter argument of the government? That we need to frame a kind of national framework for a better perspective, or for a holistic perspective. We need a body like this at central level so that we can coordinate with different states. Apart from that, there is provision of SMB. What is SMB? State Maritime Board. Now understand, they are going to administer non-major ports within their states, and there is a adjudication mechanism also. That means every state will set up dispute resolution committee. Let's say there is a dispute between two ports. So who is going to resolve this dispute? Understand, ports related dispute will have commercial impact. If this dispute is, let's say, discussed into court, it is going to take time. That's why the government is saying that let's set up dispute resolution committee. They are going to deal with these disputes in a very speedy manner so that it does not have adverse impact on the economic activities. And that's why courts will not have jurisdiction on such issues. Just remember this thing, that the civil courts barred from the jurisdiction in these matters. Next is related to 10 years of Sagarmala program. Again, we have discussed Sagarmala is a scheme for the development of port infrastructure. In that context, recently, first Maritime Sector NBFC was set up. The name is Sagarmala Finance Corporation. Next is related to Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. So recently, the parliamentary committee highlighted the slow progress in left-wing extremism areas. In a very simple sense, understand. In internal security, there is a topic linkage between development and spread of extremism. So this parliamentary committee have highlighted that in Naxalite areas, the progress of these project is very slow, and that is why what is happening is that there is a governance deficit. That means the people do not have access to basic facilities such as hospitals, such as schools, such as road, mobile connectivity, and that's why it is very easy. It is very easy for the Naxal groups to influence these people against the government, and that's why there are instances of violence. So what we have to do, we have to fill this governance deficit. For that purpose, government is taking various initiatives, and there is a goal that by the end of 2026, March 2026, we will have a Naxal Mukt Bharat. So these are important points into this thing. Next is related to 100th birth anniversary of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Basically, he is considered as the father of Green Revolution, and he played a critical role into this thing. Now, on this occasion, a new award was set up, that is M.S. Swaminathan Award for Food and Peace, and it was given to the first award was given to the Professor Edemola Edlin, and that is why it can be directly asked. Green Revolution, you already know. Now, there are certain news in shorts. First is a sovereign credit rating. See, sovereign credit rating basically means credit agencies will determine the credit worthiness of a country. Sovereign basically refers to country in this case. That means whether this country will be able to repay on time or not. So recently the credit rating of India were improved, and that's why it was highlighted. So previously our rating were BBB minus, now it is triple B. So it has been upgraded. This is by S&P. So S&P, Moody, Fitch, these are some of the credit rating agencies. Next is related to parliamentary panel recommendation that we need to set up more IFSC. Understand three things. One is GIFT. What is GIFT? Gujarat International FinTech City. Gujarat International FinTech. What is FinTech? Finance plus technology. In this dedicated area, there are IFC. IFSC. What is IFSC? International Financial Services Center. So India's first IFSC is in Gift City in Gujarat. The panel had recommended that we need to set up more such IFSC. What is IFSC? International Financial Services Center. That means these centers will provide financial services to international clients. So that is the objective. To regulate IFSC, we have IFSCA. That is authority. Next is related to retail inflation. So our inflation has gone down. That's why RBI has announced the rate cut also. Nothing new in this case. Next is related to free AI vision. That is talking about the use of AI in the financial sector. What is the full form of free? That is framework for responsible and ethical enablement of artificial intelligence. Next is related to SFB, universal license. So small finance bank, they have to use this term in their name, small finance bank. Now, it does not mean that they are going to operate in a particular small area. No, they can operate throughout India. The condition is that they need to focus more on the small borrowers. Recently, AU Small Finance Bank, its license was upgraded, and now it has been given the license to operate as universal bank. What is universal bank? Banks like HDFC, ICICI, SBI, these are universal bank. So how they are different from small finance bank? Small finance bank basically means they are going to give more loans to the small borrowers, especially to the borrowers whose borrowing requirement is less than 25 lakhs. So recently it was in news because RBI has given approval to AU Finance Bank to operate as universal bank. Next is related to co-lending. See, co-lending basically means co means joint. So banks and NBFC, they will come together to give loans. Why banks? Banks have money. Why NBFC? They have customer base. So the strength of these two are combining, and the focus is on providing more and more loans. Next is related to civil aviation safety. Again, nothing much in this case. It was in the background of that Air India flight. So in this case, one recommendation is important, that there is a need to set up a comprehensive whistleblower protection framework. What does that mean? If someone highlight the lapses into the aviation sector or in any sector, they are basically referred as whistleblower. Problem is that we do not have sufficient safeguard for those people who highlight these, and that's why people do not even highlight the issues, and over a period of time it may lead to a very significant disaster. That's why there is a recommendation that we need to create a framework for such whistleblowers who highlight the issues. Next is related to steel scrap recycling policy. See, understand, steel scrap recycling. Recycling basically means some old product is thrown, now we are trying to recycle. Most of the recycling is being done in informal sector. They are not well organized. So that's why this entire issue was highlighted, that we need to formalize this thing. We need to give them incentive, and we also need to create the certification program so that we can improve the recycling. See, understand, recycling will help in two ways. A, it will promote circular economy. We are reusing the same resource. Plus, it will also reduce the pressure on the environment because we are not going to generate that much e-waste. So for that, we need to formalize the recycling process. We also need to bring cooperatives in this sector. Government need to give industry status to this, and there should be a certification program for this. GST reform. Two important things. GST is goods and service tax, indirect tax, introduced in 2017 through 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. Why it was in news? Because of reforms. So now there will be two slabs, 5% and 18%. There's a special slab of 40% on the sin goods or luxury goods. Sin goods means those goods which have adverse impact on the society. Luxury goods are self-explanatory. Okay, so now there will be three major slabs, 5%, 18% and 40%. Previously, there was a provision of cess. Now government is saying that we are going to directly impose 40% GST on the sin and luxury goods. What is the purpose of cess? Cess is collected for a specific purpose. Is it shared with the states? No, it is not shared. It is not part of divisible pool. Okay, so in GST, these are two important things. One is related to this rate reforms. This is basically referred as a rationalization of GST structure. Second is that for dispute resolution, there is a appellate tribunal. As the name suggests, appellate basically means it is going to hear the appeals. So tribunal means it is a specialized court which is going to hear the cases related to GST. Okay, what is going to be the composition of this court? So the principal bench of this GST 80 is going to be in New Delhi, and there will be separate benches in different locations. Who is going to be the member? So there will be two judicial members and one technical member from the center and one technical member from the state. So actually, as far as GST Council is concerned, please remember one thing: both center and states have representation into this council. So GST is a classic example of cooperative federalism. What is cooperative federalism? That simply means cooperation between the different units of federal structure. That is, different units of, in a very simple sense, cooperation between center and state. Next is related to India's semiconductor ecosystem. So why it was in news? Because now India is going to focus on the 2nm chip design. Now this will be done by ARM, which is a British company. So that is going to focus on the designing of these chips. Now why it is so significant? Because understand, the design of these chips, they are very small in size, so it requires huge amount of investment, technological skill and innovation. So that's why it is significant. Now to promote the semiconductor chips, India had announced India Semiconductor Mission in 2021. So what are the issues? There is a high cost, there is a technological gap, and then we don't have sufficient innovation. There is a lack of talent. What should be done? India should be part of, or India should join Global Chip Alliance. So this is basically referred as Chip 4. This is a grouping of 4 nations: US, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. So they are the world leader in the chip manufacturing. So that's why we should kind of join this group and should learn from these countries. Next is related to PM Mitra scheme. just remember PM Mitra is related to textile sector. The under this mega park are set up. What is the concept of park? Everything related to that industry will be available at one place. For example, IT park, textile park, food processing park. Okay, so why it was in news? Because recently Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for the mega this PM Mitra Park in Dhar in Madhya Pradesh. Just remember this thing. Rest it is related to textile sector. In textile, there is a 5F model, from farm to fiber to factory to fashion to foreign. That means, in a very simple sense, we are going to focus on the complete supply chain. Textile sector is a labor intensive sector. That's why it is quite important, because we have huge working age population. We need to focus on those sectors which can provide employment to large number of people. Next is related to national logistic policy. Just remember two things. Our logistic cost is quite high. It is roughly 13 to 14%. And because of high logistic cost, our exports are not that much competitive. For example, if I ask you why we purchase Chinese items, is it because of quality or is it because of cost? It is because of cost. So similarly, if we will be able to reduce our logistic cost, our exports will be cheaper in the international market. They will be sold more. So that's why government had announced this NLP, National Logistic Policy, and PM Gati Shakti scheme. The basic objective of PM Gati Shakti is to focus on the infrastructure, and this is going to provide the policy base for that. What is the goal? Goal is to reduce the logistic cost to single digit. Right now it is 13 to 14%, less than 10 will be single digit. Second goal is to be in the top 25 in the Logistic Performance Index, LPI, which is released by World Bank. How much is our position, or what is our position as of now? It is 38 as of now. Goal is to reach to 25. Next is related to SARFACI. Again, just remember a very basic thing. Let's say I need some loan from the bank, and I used my land. Again, I'm oversimplifying it. I used my land as a collateral for that loan. Now, if I'm not going to pay the loan on time, what bank is going to do? Bank is going to auction that. Now, what if bank has announced that they are going to auction my property? What if now I want to pay them back the full amount? So will I be able to claim my property? That was the issue. Now, in this context, there were two issues. One is SARFACI Act. There was section 13 of this act, and then there was a rule which was framed separately as a part of this SARFACI Act itself. So the section 13 says that the borrower, I was the borrower, bank was the lender, the borrower loses the right to redeem. That simply means I will repay the amount and claim my property. The borrower loses the right to redeem their property once the auction is published. Bank has said that they are going to auction my property. The moment bank does so, I will lose my right to redeem my property. Okay. Then there was a SARFACI rule which said that it will be only after the sale, not after the notification. So the act says that once it is notified, I will not be able to claim my property. That means I cannot stop bank from auctioning. The second rule says that I can do so. That means I can do so as long as the bank has not conducted the auction. Merely notification is not sufficient. So there was a conflict. In that context, the Supreme Court has clarified that you have right as long as it is not published. That simply means the auction notice has not been published. Now let me simplify. I took loan. I used my land as a collateral. I did not pay loan on time. Bank has announced auction. Now I said that okay, I will pay you amount back. Please give my property back. The court has clarified once it is announced, that means auction is published, then I cannot claim my property. Then bank have right to auction that property and recover the loan amount. That is the simple explanation for this. Okay. Now understand what is NPA. Keep it simple. Bank provide loan. So this loan is asset for bank. Why it is asset? Because bank is going to earn interest on it. As long as bank is earning interest, it is performing asset. As long as our batsmen score runs, they are performing batsmen. The moment they stop scoring, we start calling them non-performing. Similarly, the moment bank is not able to recover the loan amount or its principal amount or its interest amount, that loan will be non-performing asset. This is oversimplified explanation. Of course, there is a duration of 90 days. After that, a loan is declared as NPA. But in an oversimplified sense, that was the meaning. Okay. Next is related to PM Matsya Sampada Yojana. So this is related to fisheries sector. Why it was in use? Because it completed 5 years. For the growth of fisheries sector, blue revolution was launched. Just like for growth of dairy sector, there was white revolution. Next is related to state finance report. So recently, the CAG analyzed the state finance. Now, understand, as per that, the total debt of all states is 22.17%. Just remember, it is 22% of GDP. How much is allowed? So, as per FRBM, for center, the limit is 40%. For states, the limit is 20%. Please remember, UPSC had asked a question, and in that question, they have swapped this information. That means they used 40% for states and 20% for center. But just remember, it is 20% for states, limit is 20% for states, 40% for center. Okay, that is first clause. Second is 13 states. 13 states have very high debt to GSDP ratio. For example, in case of Punjab, it is 40%. In case of West Bengal, it is 33%. In case of Nagaland, it is 37%. That simply means these states require intervention. Otherwise, financially, they are in a very bad position. How much is the limit? We just discussed, it is 20%. So it is very, very high borrowing. Now, if they will borrow too much amount, they will have to pay too much interest. And interest is not going to create any productive asset. So this will be a vicious cycle loop. Now, as far as the fiscal deficit is concerned, in a very simple sense, fiscal deficit is the borrowing. So as far as fiscal deficit is concerned, some states like Gujarat had a very moderate kind of fiscal deficit, 0.76%. Some states like Himachal Pradesh had very high fiscal deficit, 6.46%. How much fiscal deficit is allowed? 3% is allowed. States can borrow 0.5% extra if they focus on the power sector reforms. Okay. Now, last parameter. These three parameters are quite important. That's why I'm trying to explain them all. Last parameter is how much revenue is being generated by states themselves. Let's say a state is having expenditure of 100 rupee. How much revenue did they generate on their own? Rest of the money they are going to receive from central government as a part of grants, from the central government as a part of taxation also. Okay. So states like Haryana, they generated 70 rupee on their own. That's a good thing. States like Arunachal Pradesh generated only 9%. Out of 100, 9% was generated within Arunachal Pradesh. Remaining came from center or from other sources. That itself is a poor financial situation. Next is related to annual survey of industry. Again, it was released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So this highlighted that the gross value addition was highest in basic metals, motor vehicles, chemicals, food products, and pharma. The states which are leading contributor are Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra. Our GVA, that is gross value addition, increased by 11.8%. Total output increased by 5.8%. Next is related to industrial park rating system. In a very simple sense, we are setting industrial park. What is the concept of industrial park? Everything is readily available. You just come, invest money, start production. It's just like, okay, let me give you a very basic example. You want to settle into new city. Easy is that kind of facility. You will go there, you will just settle there. Everything is already there. Bed is there, curtain is there, internet is there. You need not to worry about anything. Similarly, in case of industrial park, you just need to go there and set up your office and start production. Every facility is provided by government already. Okay, now which park is doing better? How to evaluate their performance? For that, we have introduced a rating system. Just like which PG is better, which PG is having good facility, which PG is having good food. There should be a rating system. Similarly, there is a rating system for this thing, which has been launched by DPIIT with the help of Asian Development Bank. Next is related to Ministry of Finance give infrastructure status to large ship. Please remember one thing, if any industry have infrastructure status, they get very easy credit. They get benefit in terms of credit in two terms. A, easy availability. So credit will be easily available. Banks will not hesitate to provide loan. And second is cheaper interest. So these are the benefit of Industry status. Recently, government has given this infrastructure status to large ship. So if a ship which is owned by India, if its capacity is more than 10,000 tonnes, then it is eligible for this infrastructure status. If the ship is made in India with a tonnage capacity of 1500 or more, this was for any ship which may be manufactured by someone else but is owned by Indian. This is for the ship which are manufactured in India. So these ships are eligible for the infrastructure status. Now, for the development of the shipping sector, government recently announced a financial package. As a part of this package, government has announced the financial assistance. So there will be Maritime Development Fund. As the name suggests, objective is to focus on the development of maritime sector. Apart from that, for shipbuilding, the government has announced a shipbuilding development scheme. Please remember, right now we are heavily dependent on others for this sector. So we just want to boost our Atmanirbharta or self-reliance, and that's why government has announced this financial package. The objective is to be in top 5 shipbuilding nations by 2047. Right now, countries like China, countries like South Korea dominate this sector. Next is related to advanced authorization scheme. Again, let me give a very basic example. Let's say I'm a textile unit. Okay, the name is ABC, and I export shirts. Again, it is oversimplified. For this export, I import cloth. Okay, now the government facilitate this import because again I will use that imported cloth as a raw material for the export of the shirt. Okay, previously there were time limit that if you have imported it, you need to export it in 6 months. Now what has been done, the time limit has been extended to from 6 months to 18 months. That is it. Rest everything is self-explanatory. Advanced authorization scheme, that simply means the government is going to authorize you to import, and you can do it by taking advance permission. Nothing much is there. What will be its impact? Again, it will support our exports. Next is related to Bharti initiative. So APEDA, that is Agriculture and Processed Food Export Development Authority, they have launched this Bharti initiative. What is the full form? It is Bharat Hub for Agri-Tech Resilience Advancement and Incubation for Export Enablement. Just remember two things. A, agriculture and processed food export. That is our goal. The objective of Bharti is to support those startups which are going to be involved in agricultural items, which are going to be involved in the processed food item. Next is Global Innovation Index. It was released by WIPO. India is on 38th position. Countries like Switzerland, Sweden, US, they are on top position. As far as India is concerned, our top innovation hubs are Bengaluru, Delhi, Mumbai, and so on. For the promotion of innovation, various initiatives such as Atal Innovation Mission (AIM) and initiatives such as Nidhi, that is National Initiative for Developing and Harnessing Innovation, these are launched. Next is World Trade Report. So this is report by WTO to show the impact of AI on the trade. Now understand, whenever you have to show the positive impact, you can quote this data. As per this report, AI is going to improve or help the global trade by increasing the trade by 34 to 37%. Why trade will improve? Because of the better coordination, better transportation, and improved transparency. Everything is being done by technology, so which is going to be much more efficient. That is a good side of AI. What is problematic side of AI? Problematic side of AI is that A, there is a risk of AI concentration. What does that mean? Only certain countries have advantage in AI sector, then there is a risk of job loss. Apart from that, it will also reduce the skill premium. What does that mean? Understand, let's say someone someone is doing manual labor. The construction is going on, a particular worker is working on that construction site. AI is not going to threaten their job because it is very low skill job, but AI is going to take the job of person who is involved in, let's say, working as a content writer. So this says that the AI is expected to substitute the tasks which are performed by the medium and high skilled workers more than those of low skilled workers. So the job of low skilled workers is not that much threatened because of AI. Therefore, what will happen? It will reduce the relative demand for the high skilled labor, and therefore it will reduce the pay gap in them. In a very simple sense, understand why high skilled labor earn too much money in comparison to low skill? Because of their demand. Now what AI is doing, AI is reducing their demand. How AI is reducing their demand? Because AI is able to do that work, so now you do not require that kind of labor. So that is the reason behind it. Next is related to OECD economic outlook. Just remember, as the name suggests, it is released by OECD. India is going to grow at the rate of 6.7%. Next is related to PMS, polymetallic sulfide. Poly basically means multiple metals. So understand, recently India got the contract from ISA, 15-year contract from ISA for the exploration of PMS in the Carlsberg Ridge. First have a look at the geographical location. So this is our country, this is Carlsberg Ridge, and this is Nikitin Seamount. Now we got license for this, for the exploration of PMS. We are also interested into this one, but it is being contested by Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka says that it is closer to them, so they should get this right. That is it. Next is UPU, that is Universal Postal Union. Why it was in news? Because recently India integrated UPI and UPU. What is UPI? Unified Payment Interface. So we have connected this thing to that thing. That's why it was in news. UPU is the specialized agency of United Nations. Next is hallmarking. So recently, the government introduced the provision of voluntary hallmarking for the silver jewelry, just like gold jewelry. Voluntary basically means if you want to do it, you can do it. See, initially, it is introduced as a voluntary aspect, and later, over a period of time, it is converted into mandatory hallmarking. What is the intention behind hallmarking? So that those who want to purchase these kind of jewelry using this hallmarking sign, they can understand that it is a genuine product. Who manage this hallmarking thing? So it is managed by BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, which is under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and it is set up as per the BIS Act of 2016. See, previously there was BIS Act of 1986. Now it is replaced by BIS Act of 2016. What is BIS? Bureau of Indian Standards. Next is related to opium cultivation. See, in our country, opium is cultivated. Farmers are going to cultivate it, but they cannot sell it in the open market. Otherwise, you know what will happen. So that's why government is going to purchase them, and government is going to purchase them at a fixed price. For that, government is going to authorize the license that you can cultivate it. So recently, Government of India released the annual licensing policy, and this is being done as a part of NDPS rules. What is NDPS? Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances. Actually, there is NDPS Act. So NCB operate as per the provisions of that act itself, that is Narcotics Control Bureau. Now, understand, India is the only country that authorized under UN Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs to produce gum opium. Okay. Now, it is cultivation is permitted in countries like in states like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and the license is issued by CBN. What is CBN? Central Bureau of Narcotics. So when a farmer is going to cultivate, farmer will sell this to CBN. They cannot sell it in open market. Otherwise, again, there will be risk of smuggling and misuse. Okay, why it is being produced? One question that should come in mind: because of its medicinal value. So that is being used as a medicine also. So it is used in various pharma products. Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. Now understand, it is released by UNDP and OPHI, that is United Nations Development Program, and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. As per 2025 report, there is a global multidimensional poverty level of 18.3%. Easy way to remember: roughly 18% people globally are multidimensionally poor. Now understand, this is based on 10 indicators, three major dimensions, and 10 indicators. If someone is deprived in 3 or more out of 10, 3 or more, if someone is deprived, they are referred as multidimensionally poor. At national level in India also, a specific report is released, that is India Multidimensional Poverty Index, and this is released by Niti Aayog. This one is based on 12 indicators. Global one is based on 10. India specific is based on 12. Two additional indicators are there. One is maternal health, one is bank account. So these are some of the things which you need to keep in mind. Okay. Now understand, roughly 18% population is multidimensionally poor. In India, as per this global report, roughly 16.4% people are multidimensionally poor. Just remember two things, that Indian average is lower than the global average. That's one thing. This is as per global index. As per India index, the multidimensional poverty level is 14.96%. Okay. Now, understand one more thing. This index simply says that if someone is deprived out of 10, if someone is deprived in one third, that is three or more indicators, they will be multidimensionally poor. The India specific index is released by Niti Aayog, and these are the parameters of that index. Have a look at this thing. Now, this parameter maternal health and this parameter bank account, they are unique in India specific index. Rest of the parameters are there in the global index as well as in India index. Very simple question can be asked, that which of the following indicators are adopted separately by the India specific index. So two parameters, maternal health and bank account. As per India specific index, it is 14.96%. So three data is there. Globally, as per global index, 18% is global, and in India it is 16%. This is as per global report, and as per India specific report, it is 14.96%. That is the level of multidimensional poverty. Next is related to Nobel Prize in Economic Science. Now understand, in economics, it was given for a term or a concept that is creative destruction. Let me simplify the concept. What is creative destruction? In a very simple sense, new products will come, new ideas will come, and if old ideas are not able to transform themselves, they will be destructed or they will go out of business. Leave this. Let's try to understand it using a very simple example. In childhood, you might have seen those bulky TVs. With the advancement of innovation technology, new slim TVs are there. Now you won't see any bulky TVs anymore. That is creative destruction. The old ideas will vanish away with the advancement of new things. Previously, there was a concept such as pen drive. Now they don't exist. Even if they do, they have very low relevance. Why so? Because there is a new idea of cloud storage. That is another example of creative destruction. It simply means new innovation will fade out the existing old innovation if they will not be able to adapt according to the new ideas. That is the concept. Okay. For this particular thing, the Nobel Prize in economics was given. Okay. So understand two important things. What is the specific contribution of these people? Again, I'm not going to read the names, you can read them by themselves. My major objective is to help you understanding the concept here. Okay. So there were three people. Now, the contribution of John Mocker is that he has specified the necessary condition for a sustained growth. That simply means what is required for sustained growth. What kind of environment is required for sustained growth? So, three conditions are there. A, joint evolution of science and technology. In a very simple sense, science and technology need to be promoted. Then there need to be a mechanical competence. People should compete, and there should be a society which is open to change. If society will not change, understand, if society will not change, what will happen? They will lag behind. So if you really want sustained growth, society need to change. It need to adapt according to changing circumstances. Apart from that, the Philip Aghion and Peter Howitt, they gave the theory of creative destruction. We have already discussed creative destruction basically means new ideas, new innovation will replace the old and existing ideas. Something new will come and that will destroy the existing thing. That is creative destruction. So that's why innovation is important. That's why support to innovation in any economy is important, because when there will be innovation, there will be new ideas, there will be new product which will replace the existing product. That's how countries are going to grow economically. For that purpose, we need to have our focus and attention on the innovation, science and technology. Our society should be willing to change. Similarly, that's why you might have noticed that government of India is also giving too much attention to this research, innovation, development. In that background, RDI scheme was launched. We will cover it, but in later part, what is RDI? Research, development, and innovation. Okay, that is the Nobel Prize for Economics. Next is related to Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. Again, this scheme was announced in the budget. This is a scheme aspirational district program, which is an initiative of Niti Aayog. The objective of that aspirational district program was to focus on the most backward districts of our country. On similar lines, this Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya scheme was announced. What is the objective? Objective is to focus on the most backward agricultural district of our country. Most backward means what? That simply means in terms of production, in terms of cropping intensity, in terms of credit, they are backward. Credit means simply the farmers in these districts are not able to get much loans from the banks. Limited credit availability is there. What is this cropping intensity? In a very simple sense, how many crops are cultivated in a particular piece of land in a year? Now understand, our India specific average is roughly 1.4. It simply means in a piece of land in a year, not even two crops are cultivated. Why so? Because we don't have proper irrigation facility. There is a heavy dependency on the rainfall. Okay, so this particular initiative Dhandhanya scheme try to focus on the agriculturally backward districts of our country so that we can uplift them. That is the objective. Now, two three important things. There will be coverage of 100 underperforming districts, and the focus is on their overall development. For this, the annual budget is of 24,000 crore, and for 6 years it is going to be 1.44 lakh crore. Out of that, 40% money will be utilized for subsidy, 30% for the infrastructure, 20% for the loan, and 10% for the training and the market support. Now, how we are selecting these districts? A district with a low crop yield. Yield is nothing but a fancy term for productivity. Productivity simply means how much is the production per unit area. Second is cropping intensity. Cropping intensity basically means how much crops are being cultivated. And third is limited access to credit. Now, the objective is to select district from entire country, and Uttar Pradesh is having maximum 12 district in this scheme. That means 12 district of Uttar Pradesh will be covered under this scheme. So that is the objective of Dhandhanya scheme. Next is related to mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. That is Dalhan Atmanirbharta mission. Now understand the background here. Our cropping pattern is heavily dominated by rice and wheat. That's why farmers do not prefer to cultivate pulses. That's why what happens is that our demand of pulses is quite high. We are leading producer, leading consumer, and leading importer of pulses. Leading producer are we are leading producer. But understand, this production is not sufficient to fulfill our domestic demand. So how we will be able to fulfill it? By importing. Government of India is saying why we have to import. Why not to provide the suitable environment to the farmers in terms of policy support so that they start cultivating pulses. If they will produce more pulses, we will produce, overall production will increase. We will not have to import. That is the objective of this Atmanirbharta in pulses initiative. The focus is on three category, that is tur, urad, and masoor. Now, the objective is to be self-sufficient in pulses production by 2027. So the duration for this scheme is 6 years, and the allocation is roughly 11,000 crore. So three focus crops are there: tur, urad, and masoor. Just remember TUM. Examiner can confuse you by giving other names. For example, instead of masoor, examiner can give you the name of moong. So you need to remember this. This is something which examiner can play with. Okay. Now, what is the objective? Objective is quite simple. We have to increase the production, we have to increase the cultivation area, and we have to increase the productivity. Yield is nothing but productivity. Okay. Next is WTO agreement on fisheries subsidy. Now, let me give you a brief background. What is this agreement on fisheries subsidy? Government of different countries, they provide subsidy to the fishermen. The counter argument of this subsidy is that because of subsidy, fishermen tend to overfish. Overfishing basically means we are exploiting more resources, so therefore we are capturing juvenile fish. Juvenile fish basically means baby fish or young fish, and that's why our fisheries resources are depleting. That's why there was an agreement that we should stop these kind of harmful subsidies. For that purpose, there was an agreement of WTO. The name of the agreement is WTO Agreement on Fisheries Subsidies. Now you should be able to understand that why such name is there. So recently it was in news because it is officially entered into force. That means it became effective. It was adopted during the Geneva conference of WTO, which was 12th Geneva conference. The conference of WTO, basically they are referred as ministerial conference. So during 12th ministerial conference, it was adopted, but now it came into existence or it came into force. What is India's stance? See, three type of questions or statement can be framed from this. That in which year it was adopted. So it was during the 12th ministerial conference. Recently, it became effective. After 2/3 of the countries, basically they said, okay, what is India's stance? As of now, India has not ratified it. Remember this thing. Now understand two important things. India does not provide much subsidy to the fishermen, but the problem is that we have a huge population. So even if we are providing less money, overall money is quite huge. For example, if I talk about per capita subsidy, per capita means per fisherman subsidy, it is roughly $35. Some developed countries provide a subsidy of roughly $76,000. Understand the gap here. 35, total 35 versus $76,000. Countries like India says that you need to measure subsidy from the per capita perspective. These developed countries, they say, no, we don't want to measure it from per capita perspective. We should measure it in the total amount. Now understand, one country is providing 1 rupee, and let's say the total population is 100. So how much is the total subsidy? 100 rupee. Another country is providing 20 rupee as a subsidy, and the total population is only 3. So how much is the total subsidy in this case? It is 60 rupee. Countries like India are saying that we are providing only 1 rupee. Our total amount, that is 100 in this case, is big because we have a huge population. Developed countries, on the other hand, say that you should not focus on the per person subsidy. You should focus on the total amount. See, we are providing less. We are providing only 60. So that is why there is a conflict between the developed countries and countries like India. India's argument is measure subsidy from the per capita perspective. Argument of developed countries is measure subsidy from the overall amount perspective. That's why India have not signed it. One argument is there. Second argument is there that India is saying that those countries which are providing more subsidies, because of these subsidies, there is an over exploitation of their resources. So ideally, they should take this responsibility. They should provide less subsidy and they should help in the replenishment of the resources. That is the concept of triple P. What is triple P? Polluter pay principle. Whosoever is polluting the environment should pay the burden for it. Okay. Or there is one more concept, CBDR, common but differential responsibility. That simply means the responsibility of developing and developed. Responsibility is same, but goal is same. Goal is to conserve the resources, but responsibility is going to be different according to their respective capabilities. Developing and developed, they don't have same resources. So why they should have same responsibility? That is the argument of India. So just remember, India have not signed it. That is something which you need to keep in mind. Rest everything is quite common. You can read it. Next is related to AI and employment. So again, nothing much is happening in this case. This is a report by Niti Aayog which simply says that we have to focus on three things. A, because of AI, there will be change in the work. That means the work will change because a lot of things will be done by technology itself. Then there will be change in the worker. That simply means we will require people with new skill set. And then there will be change in the workforce. In a very simple sense, we need a workforce which can understand AI so that we can create more and more employment opportunity. You can use this in your mains answer. Next is related to incentive scheme for the promotion of the critical mineral recycling. Understand, right now we are heavily dependent on the import of the critical minerals. Government had announced National Critical Mineral Mission. Apart from that, the recycling is also important. Recycling to recover the critical minerals from the products. But majority of this recycling is happening in the informal way. Informal sector is there. To incentivize that, government has announced this incentive scheme, and the total allocation is 1500 crore, and the total duration is going to be 6000. What is the objective? The name itself is self-explanatory. Objective is to focus on the recycling. Recycling of what? Recycling of the critical minerals. This is part of NCMM, that is National Critical Mineral Mission. Now there will be two type of incentive. One is capital expenditure subsidy. Capital expenditure basically means, let's say you are setting up a plant for recycling, and if the total cost of that plant machinery is, let's say, 100 rupee, the government is going to provide you subsidy of up to 20%. That is cost of machinery. And let's say to operate that plant, if you need let's say 100 rupee, so government is going to provide you subsidy for the expenditure on the operations also. This is going to be incremental. Incremental basically means, let's say this year you are creating a product worth 100 rupee, so you will be getting 40% subsidy. Next year you will be getting even more subsidy. Okay, that is the concept of incremental sale. Similar type of subsidy is also provided in PLI scheme, that is production linked incentive. That is also having incremental subsidy scheme or incremental incentive scheme. Okay, now there are various limitation on these subsidies. Again, you can read it on your own. This is purely factual. Next is related to annual survey of industries. It is released by MOSPI. Second is it talks about the overall value addition by the different industry. Annual survey of industry, name itself is self-explanatory. We have surveyed the industries, what they are producing, how much value they are adding. GVA is nothing but gross value addition, overall value addition. Okay, now the GVA increased by roughly 11.89%, roughly 11%. Just remember, no need to remember exact number. These are 5 industries. For example, basic metal, motor vehicle, chemical, food products, and pharma products. These are 5 major industries in which value addition was there in our country. Now, the maximum value addition was in states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Uttar Pradesh. Now, this itself will show you one thing. Because these states have larger units, which leads to value addition. Of course, they will lead to more employment generation. That's why what will happen? There will be migration towards these states. So our overall GVA growth was 11%. Employment growth was roughly 6% in comparison to last year, roughly 5.9%. The top states are Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka. Now, you might wonder why it is happening that in terms of value addition, some states are on top, the priority order changes. See, it depends on a lot of factors. It may be possible that the value addition is happening because majority of my plant is having machines, less workers are there. So of course, in that case, what will happen? Less employment opportunities will be there. Okay, just remember the trend. Next is related to Payment Regulatory Board. Now, again, I'm not going to discuss each and every nitty-gritty of this thing. If you have covered MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, the composition is similar to MPC. 6 members will be there, 3 from RBI, 3 from Government of India. What is the objective? Objective is, the name itself is self-explanatory, Payment Regulatory Board. So this is for digital payments. Previously, there was a separate body. Name of that body was Board for Regulation and Supervision of Payment and Settlement System. Instead of that body, now we will have this PRB. What is PRB? Payment Regulatory Board. Okay. Now, understand this is set up as per the provisions of Payment and Settlement System Act of 2007. Okay. It will be chaired by RBI Governor. It is set up as per the Section 3. RBI Governor is going to be the ex officio chairperson. 6 members are going to be there, and the tenure of the members is going to be 4 years, and they are not eligible for renomination. Rest of the things are quite common. And the meetings will be at least twice a year with a quorum of 3 members. What does that even mean? It simply means whenever there will be meeting, at least 3 members must be present. Okay. Next is internationalization of rupee. Understand what is the meaning? Internationalization of rupee simply means more and more transactions are happening in rupee. For that purpose, recently RBI has announced various initiatives. For example, giving loan in rupee. Loan to whom? Loan to non-resident people in rupee. That's one thing in such initiative. Loan to non-resident in rupees. Apart from that, there are transparent reference rate. What does that even mean? Let's say you want to convert rupee into dollar, dollar into some other currency. If the rates will not be transparent, you will not prefer to deal in rupee. You will prefer to deal in dollar if the rates are not transparent. So government or RBI is saying why not to publish the transparent rate so that the faith on the rupee increases. That is the objective. In a very simple sense, I'm just writing for the sake of understanding. So how much will be the reference rate? So this will be published by FBIL. What is FBIL? It is Financial Benchmark India Limited. Next is related to the use of special rupee Vostro account. Now there are two terms, Vostro and Nostro. I'm just going to explain Vostro, and Nostro is just opposite of that. What is Vostro? Let's say this is Russia, and I'm just giving the name Bank of Russia. Okay, this is India, and let's say there is a SBI, State Bank of India. When Bank of Russia is having an account in SBI, just a second, let me. When Bank of Russia is having an account in SBI, this will be referred as Vostro. Vostro. Vostro simply means BOR will have account in SBI. When SBI will have a account in Bank of Russia, that will be referred as Nostro. So these are two important things. Examiner can confuse you by switching the definition. Just remember one thing. Vostro, wo in Hindi, basically wo means we are referring to someone else. So when they are having their bank account into our bank, that is referred as Vostro. Okay. Next is related to self-regulatory organization for NBFC. What are NBFC? Non-banking financial companies. In a very simple sense, they provide financial services, but they are not conventionally bank. For their self-regulation, there is a body. Recently, it was approved by RBI. Self-regulation basically means it will regulate the NBFCs on their own. Okay, just like in a classroom, some of the students decide that why not to maintain the decorum in the class. That is a self-regulation. Okay, so recently RBI granted the self-regulatory organization status to this FIDC. What is this FIDC? It is Finance Industry Development Council. So this is going to regulate the NBFC. Next is related to Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. See, ombudsman basically means grievance redressal authority. So let's say you are having a issue with the bank and bank is not listening to your request. Whom you are going to approach? For that purpose, we have integrated ombudsman. Ombudsman basically means just like we have Lokpal, Lokayukt. Similarly, for banking sector, we have ombudsman. You are going to approach ombudsman with your complaint, and then ombudsman is going to take action. Previously, the cooperative banks were not covered under this. Recently, they were also covered. That's why it was in news. So now, if you have any issue related to banks or NBFC, except housing finance NBFC, and related to payment, digital payment, you can approach this integrated ombudsman. Ombudsman basically means grievance redressal authority. Why the term integrated? Because we have single authority for all these issues. That's why the term integrated. So recently, central and state bank, state cooperative banks, they are now covered under this integrated ombudsman. Next is new initiatives of RBI. So recently RBI announced a few initiatives. One is ULI. The name itself is self-explanatory, unified single lending interface. So it will facilitate the lending. Common interface, just like we have UPI for payment. Similarly, there will be ULI for the lending, borrowing and lending. Okay. Second is CBDC. What is CBDC? Central Bank Digital Currency. It is nothing but the digital version of Indian rupee. Indian rupee is the currency issued by RBI. Similarly, a digital currency will be issued by RBI, that is referred as CBDC. For that purpose, there is a sandbox. Now, this term is quite important. Sandbox basically means whenever you are testing new product, a specific environment is provided for testing. Try to understand it this way. Let's say you want to test your new product. A specific room is designed so that you can go and test your product. Of course, we are talking about virtual things. So similarly, there is a sandbox. Sandbox, regulatory sandbox simply means you will go, you will test your product in the controlled environment. Okay. And third is pilot for tokenization of certificate of deposit. What is certificate of deposit? In a oversimplified sense, you will go to bank, you are depositing 2 crore rupees, bank will issue a paper, that is certificate of deposit, that you have deposited this much amount. Now, instead of paper, there will be digital note, or instead of paper, there will be a digital number. That is basically referred as tokenization of certificate of deposit. These are some of the new initiative. Next is related to Swami Fund. Understand the full form first. Rest everything is self-explanatory. Special window for affordable and mid-income housing. Now understand the concept of this fund. Let's say you wanted to purchase house in any metro city. You have paid money to the builder. Initial amount has been paid. Now the builder is not finishing the project, and handover was not given. The project is stuck in the midway. The construction is not complete. You have paid initial amount. Now you are trapped. The government is saying, let's have a fund. The name of the fund is Swami Fund. Swami basically means owner. So let's have a fund. The government, using this fund, will complete that project. What is the benefit in this case? Benefit is that those people who were trapped in these kind of projects, now they will be able to get their homes. The government is going to complete that project. This is for affordable housing. Just remember two things. Swami Fund is for affordable housing. Those projects which are stalled basically means incomplete. The construction is not complete. The builder has taken money. You did not get the possession of house. Government will come into the picture. Government will make sure that this project is completed using the money from the Swami Fund. That is it. Next is related to Angel's pose. Understand in a very simple sense. Angel's pose basically means the output is increasing at a much higher speed, and the salary of the workers is not increasing with that speed. So during industrial revolution, what had happened? Workers used to work manually earlier. Industrial revolution was there. Machines came into picture. Now machines were able to produce too much quantity, but the salary of the workers did not increase much. This is referred as Angel's pose. Why it was in news recently? Because it is said that because of AI, a similar Angel's pose will be there. Why so? Because of artificial intelligence or because of technology, the output will increase significantly, because technology can do a lot of things in a much less time in comparison to human. Now, since we are not involving human beings, their salary will not increase. Workers' salary will not increase, but the output will increase. That is referred as Angel's pose. So the Geoffrey Hinton, who is considered as the godfather of AI, he warned that the AI could trigger a modern era Angel's pose. What is this Angel's pose? In a very simple sense, the economic output increased significantly because of the technological advancement, but the salary of the workers is stagnant. Stagnant means what? Stagnant basically means it is more or less same. And that's why what will happen? There will be a mismatch, and this will lead to inequalities in the society. Next is related to weighted average call rate. See, there is a term call money. Call money simply means whenever a bank need to borrow money for one day, just for one day, at what interest they are borrowing money. Let's say SBI is borrowing from SDFC, SDFC is borrowing from ICICI, and so on. So what is the interest rate at which they borrow money? This is basically referred as call rate. Now, the interest rate will not be same for everyone. So if we take the average of the interest rate which is given by the banks to another bank when they borrow money for one day, this is basically referred as a weighted average call rate. Let's say 6%. One bank is giving 6%, another bank is giving, let's say 6.5%, another bank is giving, let's say 7.1%, and so on. So what will be their average? That is basically referred as weighted average call rate. So RBI is going to continue to use the overnight weighted average call rate as the operating target for monetary policy. With this, RBI is able to understand that how much is the demand of the money. If the interest rate increases significantly, that simply shows the demand is increasing. Next is World Economic Outlook. So basically, this is a report by IMF. Just remember this thing. Now, IMF and other institutions, they project the growth target for India and for global level also. Again, it is not humanly possible to remember each and every global target. Just remember one thing, that the projected growth rate for India is roughly 6%, and the global growth rate is roughly 3%. No need to remember exact number, just remember 6%, 3%. That is roughly half of the India's growth rate, projected growth rate. Global growth rate is going to be roughly half of the India's projected growth rate. Next is related to Global Financial Stability Report. Again, it is released by IMF. Nothing need to be remembered. Just remember, it is by IMF. Examiner can confuse you that it is released by WTO or World Bank. Next is related to PM Setu. Now, if you are able to remember the full form, rest everything will be covered in that. PM Setu basically refers to skill and employability transformation through upgraded ITI. What is ITI? Industrial Training Institute. In a very simple sense, we are trying to increase the employability of our people. Employability means what? Understand, there are two things: employment and employability. Employment basically means create jobs. Employability basically means people are educated but they are not employable. They don't have required skill. What we are doing, we are trying to upgrade their skill set with the help of ITI. What is ITI? It is just like a training institution for industrial purpose. So what we are doing, we are upgrading the courses in these ITI. People will go there, they will learn new skill. This will increase their employability. That is the objective of PM Setu. So this will be under Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Again, examiner can confuse you with some other ministry. Just remember this thing. It is going to be a centrally sponsored scheme. The objective is to upgrade the ITI. Next is related to remission of duties and taxes on exported product. Remission basically means give it back in a very simple sense. Now let's say I'm having a factory and I'm manufacturing these pens. For this, I have imported raw material and I'm going to manufacture these pen and export it. Now let's say for import of the raw material, I have paid certain duties to the government. Again, I'm oversimplifying. Let's say to import it, I have paid the duty of 10 rupee to the government. Because of that import duty, my product is costly because I have to recover that 10 rupee also. Now, if my product will be costly, I will not be able to sell it in the international market because there are cheaper alternatives. So what government is doing, government of India is saying, okay, you have paid import duty. Now you are exporting this product. When you will export this product, we will give you that 10 rupee back on export. Why so? So that your product is relatively cheaper in the international market, you can sell more. That is the objective of this scheme, remission of duties and taxes on the exported product. When you are going to export, when I am going to export this pen, the government is going to give me back the 10 rupee which I had paid earlier at the time of import. Let's imagine a situation. 10 rupee was the import duty, rest every expense was 90 rupee. So now I am exporting this pen at the cost of 100 rupee. Government is saying we will give you 10 rupee back. So now I can sell the same pen instead of 100, I can sell the same pen in 90 rupees. This way, my product will be cheaper, exports will be more. This is how government is trying to boost the competitiveness of exports. The name of the scheme is RODTEP, that is remission of duties and taxes on exported products. So why it was in use? Because it was extended till March 2026. It is an initiative of Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Next is related to We Rise initiative. This is an initiative launched by Niti Aayog. What is the full form? Full form is Women Entrepreneurs Reimagining Inclusive and Sustainable Enterprise. In a very simple sense, the objective is to give support to the women entrepreneurs. Next is related to discovery of the natural gas in Andaman Basin. So the new gas has been discovered in this area, that is Andaman and Nicobar Basin. Now understand, the objective of the government is to increase the share of the gas in the energy mix, and the objective is to increase it to 15% by 2030. Right now, majority of our gas is imported. Roughly 50% is imported. If we are able to utilize our domestic sources, our imports will go down, and this will help us in achieving the target of 15% by 2030. In a very simple sense, our goal is that if our energy consumption is of 100 units, 15 units should come from gas. Now, the problem is that right now we are importing. If our domestic production will boost, then of course we will have to import less. Next is related to state mining readiness index. In a very simple sense, how good is the business environment for mining in a particular state. So this is ranking To promote that, three categories are there: A, B, C. These are the states. You can just read them. Next is related to major and minor minerals. See, the minerals are classified into category major and minor. Minor minerals. On minor minerals, the state government can legislate or they can formulate the rules and regulations. Recently, it was in news because central government has classified limestone as a major mineral completely. Previously, it was based on use case, but now in all the cases, it has been classified as a major minerals. Okay, for mineral regulation, this is MMDR. Please remember this thing. In UPSC, they have asked question on this topic 2 to 3 times. So just go through the important provisions of MMDR. What is MMDR? Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 1957. Now, in this case, there is a scheme, district mineral foundation. There is a scheme for the welfare of the mining affected areas. So just go through those schemes as well. Next is related to mission for the advancement in high impact areas, medtech mission. Name itself is self-explanatory. We want to promote the innovation and advancement in the medical products. That is the mission. That is Maha mission. So objective is to promote the advancement in the medical products, medical research. Export promotion mission. See, understand. India is purchasing cheaper oil from Russia. US have imposed higher tariff, punish India, and subsequently our exports are adversely impacted. So that's why government of India have announced this mission to support our exporters. Okay. Uh, Now there are two important things. One is a support, and then there is a credit guarantee scheme for exporters. What is this scheme? In a very simple sense, let's say I'm an exporter, I have borrowed money. Now the banks will not be willing to give me that much credit. In this case, there will be guarantor. Government will act as a guarantor. That is credit guarantee scheme. Okay. Next is this export promotion mission. So what will done? There is a financial outlay of roughly 25,000 crore. So there are two subcomponents of this particular initiative. One is Niryat Prochan. In a very simple sense, financial support will be given to the exporters. That's first thing. Second is Niryat Disha. Disha basically means direction. So this is non-financial support. What is non-financial support? Like how we can export into more countries, how we can simplify the process of export, and how we can make our exporters market ready and we can make them more competitive. So these are two components which you need to keep in mind. Understand, as far as export is concerned, we have foreign trade policy FTP, which was announced in 2023. Objective is to export $2 trillion by 2030. Out of that, 1 trillion will be of goods and 1 trillion will be of services. Then we have agriculture export policy. This was announced in 2018. The objective was to double the exports by 2022. At that time, it was $30 billion. So the objective was to reach to 60. But as of now, our export is roughly $50 billion. Who is going to implement this mission of export promotion? So that will be by DGFT, that is Directorate General of Foreign Trade. Answer in comment section. Who this DGFT is under which ministry? Now, one more practice which I have witnessed, that students watch these videos, monthly magazine videos, like dead viewer. Understand, it is not my responsibility. I have not committed anything that I will have to make video and you will have to just watch it. If you will not engage, YouTube will consider that it is bogus video. Getting my point? And I'm saying it with complete honesty, that you can search entire internet and you will not find a video covering these many issues in this much time. So it is also your responsibility to take some time, and at least if some question is being asked, please try to answer that. So ultimately, if you people will not respond, YouTube will consider it as a bogus content. I will stop making it. I'm not generating revenue from it, and that is not my intention here. But you need to understand how things work. Okay. Next is related to manufacturing in India. See, understand, primary sector is there, secondary sector is there, tertiary sector is there. The problem is that we jumped directly from primary to tertiary, and this is our missing. This is basically referred as missing middle problem.
That's why we need to focus on manufacturing, because we need to create jobs. Tertiary sector cannot create that much job. That's why it is referred as jobless growth. Primary sector is creating jobs, but they are not that much productive. For example, roughly 45% population is engaged in primary sector, but their contribution in GDP is less than 20%. Okay, so that's why we have to focus on manufacturing. Now, recently, Niti Aayog released a report, and that's why this entire issue was in news. The report is reimagining manufacturing. That means we have to focus on manufacturing again with new targets. So basically, we have to focus on the core frontier technology. Frontier technology basically means advanced technology like AI, machine learning, advanced materials, digital twin. Now, what is this digital twin? Let's say we are constructing a building here. Okay, this is physical construction. This building is there. We have created a digital model of this. Kind of computer program is there. So whenever there will be any kind of new construction, we will be able to see its replica in digital mode. You will not have to go physically to verify the status of construction. This is basically referred as a digital twin. Twin basically means we have created a replica model in a digital format. Okay. Then we have to focus on other emerging areas such as electronics, semiconductors, pharma, green energy. What are the issues? Issues are that we are not that much competitive when it comes to manufacturing. Our research and development is quite, investment in R&D is quite low. For example, it is 0.64%. Countries like China, they spend roughly 2.5%. Then there is a World Inequality Report. World Inequality Report was released by World Inequality Lab. Now, for the sake of understanding, I have compiled this entire information in a table format so that you can understand it easily. So, as per this World Inequality Report, the top 10%, top 10% globally have the share of 75% wealth. That means top 10% people have 75% of the wealth of the planet. The bottom 50% have the 2% of the total wealth. That itself shows the level of inequality. This is global data, by the way. Top 10%, this is about income. These two were about wealth. Wealth is overall, income is your regular money. So, top 10% income is more than the remaining 90% combined. That simply means, let's say there are 100 people. So, these 10 people earn more than remaining 90. That again shows inequality. Share of income earned by bottom 50%, that is less than the 10%. Okay, and then related to carbon emission, top 10% richest, they emit 77% of the private capital related emissions. For example, they have private jet, they have air conditioners, they have vehicles. On the other hand, the poorest 50%, they emit only 3%. So you can use this data to reflect inequality. What about India? So top 10% have 58% of the national income. Bottom 50% have 15% of the national income. Top 10% in our country have the 65% of the national wealth. And top 1% have 40% of the national wealth. That itself shows the level of inequality. In a very simple sense, understand it this way: remaining 99% have 60%, and top 1% have 40%. Okay, so these numbers are important. Again, do not try to mug them up as of now. Just see them before exam. Next is implementation of labor code. So recently, 4 labor codes were implemented. Now understand, the objective is to simplify the rules and regulations for labor hiring. There are 4 codes, and we are going to discuss them one by one. Please understand, the labor falls in the concurrent list. That means central government is just providing a broader framework. The necessary detailed work will be done by the states. Okay, that's why the term code. It's a kind of model. Okay, so there are 4 code. One is code on wages. Name suggests that this is going to be related to wage. What should be wage? And then there is a code on industrial relation. There is a code on social security, and then there is a code on occupational safety, health, and working condition. So let's try to cover them one by one. One is a code on wages. So what should be the wage or salary? Okay. To bring uniformity, this code has been specified. Now, this will be applicable to all employees in both organized and unorganized. Examiner can set a trap that it will be applicable only in organized sector. No, it will be applicable in both organized and unorganized. Okay. Now, there will be a statutory floor wage. Statutory floor wage means what? Statutory means by law. Floor means minimum amount has been fixed by the central government. Let's say it is 200 rupee. So the states cannot issue below this than this. Of course, they can announce higher wage, but they cannot announce below this. Okay. So state cannot fix minimum wage below the floor wage. Floor means lower limit, ceiling means upper limit. Okay, for example, in land ceiling, we have covered this ceiling concept. Okay. Second is Industrial Relation Code 2020. So this is going to be working on the industrial relation, like to simplify the rules related to trade unions. Now let me simplify. Let's say there's a company C, workers are working. These workers have formed a union. This is referred as a trade union. Okay. Now they are going to negotiate against the management of the company. Okay. Now, what if there are multiple trade unions? Then what will happen? So, trade union must have 51% membership to be recognized as the sole negotiating union. If you are having, let's say there are 100 workers in company and a trade union is formed. Now, one trade union is having 30 members, one trade union is having 40 members. So in that case, they cannot claim that they are the sole representative of the workers. But if they have members more than 50%, then of course they can. So this is the meaning of this thing. If there are multiple trade unions, then there will be a negotiating council having the members from those trade unions. Then they will negotiate. This is simple. Then there is a formal recognition of fixed term employment. Now understand. Let's say you need a worker for 2 years only. So previously, what was happening? These companies used to hire contract labor. Contract labor basically means once a contract is over, your job is done. You are not a permanent employee of the company. But these workers did not receive any social security benefit. Now, to deal with that problem, government has introduced a new concept referred as a fixed term employment (FTE). You will be hired for a fixed term, but you will receive social security benefits. Okay. That is being done to reduce excessive contractualization. In a very simple sense, to reduce excessive contractual workers. What is the problem with contractual workers? They do not receive any social security benefit. Okay, the definition of worker has been expanded to include supervisory staff who is earning up to 18,000. Previously, worker basically means only certain category of people were included. Now, anyone who is earning less than 18,000 will be in this category of worker. Okay, even if you are a supervisor. So previously, what companies used to do, they used to give supervisor title to a worker so that they don't have to follow these rules. Previously, if you are going to fire more than 100 employees, you need prior government approval. Now that limit has been increased to 300. That means you can remove your staff up to 300 people at one time without government approval. Of course, after that, you need government approval. And next is related to code on social security. So, as the name suggests, the objective is to provide social security. This one is applicable to all workers, including gig and platform workers. What are gig workers? Understand, they are given work on a particular assignment sense. For example, your Swiggy delivery boy. So they are not the permanent employee of Swiggy. They are going to deliver your order, and for that they are going to receive the payment. So they don't have 9 to 5 job, and that's why they don't have casual employee-employer relationship. If these gig workers are receiving work through a platform, this is referred as platform workers. Let's say construction worker is there. Construction worker is also a gig worker, but that construction worker is not getting work through some app or something. In that case, the construction worker is just a gig worker. But Swiggy delivery boy is a gig worker as well as a platform worker. Why? Because Swiggy is a platform in this case. Okay. So, how to provide social security? So, there will be 1 to 2% of annual turnover that will be given into social security fund. Who will pay this money? That companies, for example, Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, they are going to pay 1 to 2% of their annual turnover and maximum 5% of the payment to the worker. Okay, this social security fund, this money will be utilized for the welfare of these people. Okay. Uh, ESIC coverage, previously ESIC was applicable only in notified area. Now it has been expanded to entire country. So those who have more than 10 employees, they need to register mandatorily under ESIC. Those who have less than 10, they may do it voluntarily. That means less than 10, it is voluntary. More than 10, it is mandatory. And there is a mandatory coverage for hazardous occupation and extension to the plantation workers. Okay. Rest everything is quite common. Yes, understand this very carefully. Let's say previously the salary was 100 rupee. So what companies used to do, they will say your basic salary is only 20. Why? Because they have to contribute to the social security fund on the basis of this basic salary. Remaining 80 was given in the form of, let's say, TA, travel allowance, HRA, and all other things. Now government said that if you are paying 100 rupees, minimum 50 need to be considered as basic. Now read this. Uniform definition of wages including basic pay, DNS allowance and retaining allowance with at least 50% of total remuneration counted for social security benefit. If you are giving 100 rupee to your employee, 50 need to be considered as basic pay, and on the basis of this basic pay you will have to contribute. You means employer. Okay. And last is OSH, that is Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code. Name itself is self-explanatory regarding the safety of workers. Okay, so uniform electronic registration threshold, if the organization is having 10 employees, so they need to register it. If the occupation is quite risky, then even if there is one employee, they need to register, and if the nature of the work is hazardous. Okay, women are allowed to work in all establishment, even during night hours, but with the consent and the safety consent of the that particular female, and there should be adequate safety measures. Then there should be a National Occupational Safety and Health Advisory Board. So this board is going to make sure that these rules are implemented properly. Who is going to be the chairperson of this board? So it will be chaired by the Secretary of Ministry of Labor and Employment. That person will be ex officio. Ex officio means basically whosoever is going to be the secretary will be the chairperson of this board. One more thing, it is a tripartite body. What is tripartite? Tripartite basically means three party. So government is there, employer is there, employee is there. Next is related to protection of plant varieties and farmers' right. So this act was enacted in 2001 and recently it was in news because of Silver Jubilee. Now understand in a very simple sense. In our country, the seeds are not given patent rights. What is the meaning of patent? You, let's say you developed a vaccine. You have patent right. That means no one else will be able to produce it without your explicit permission. Patent is given for 20 years. But these patent provisions are not applicable in case of seeds. Now you might wonder then what is the incentive for research and development in seeds? To provide incentive, this act was enacted. The name of the act is Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right. Just remember the name and everything is clear from this name itself. Protection of plant varieties. That means if you are developing new varieties, there is a protection for that. But we also have to make sure that the rights of the farmers are also protected. Now, how come these are in conflict? Understand. Let's say you are a company, you developed a new variety of seeds. Farmer purchased those seeds. Okay. Now, farmer used those seeds for a crop, and after the end of that crop, they stored some of the seeds. After harvesting, new crop was there, and they stored some of the seeds so that they can use it for the next cycle. If it will be patent, then of course they cannot do. That's why to deal with these issues, this act was enacted. Okay. Now this is in compliance with TRIPS. What is TRIPS? Trade related aspect of intellectual property right. Okay. TRIPS allow that you can protect your seed varieties either by giving patent or through the sui generis system. Means you can develop your own system in a very simple sense. So India as a country decided not to give patent but to develop their own system, and subsequently we enacted this act. This is in compliance with UPOV. What is UPOV? International Union for Protection of New Varieties of Plants. Okay, just remember this thing. We do not give patent for the plants. That means we do not give patent for the varieties of plants. Now, what are the rights under this act? Breeder right. Breeder basically means you have developed a new variety through R&D. So you have exclusive right to produce, sell, market, distribute, import, and export the variety. Otherwise, why you are going to invest your time and money into this if you will not have exclusive right? But understand, farmers are also entitled to register new varieties and they can receive protection similar to breeders. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to balance the breeder as well as farmers. And farmers are eligible for recognition and reward for conserving the plant genetic varieties. Quite obvious is there. This will be implemented through Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and there is a specific, just a second. There is a specific body to implement these provisions, that is Plant Varieties and Protection of Farmers Right Authority, and this is under administrative control of Ministry of Agriculture. Okay, headquarters is in New Delhi. There is a provision of benefit sharing. What does that mean? If a variety, farmer has developed a variety that is being used by a company, so whatever profit company is going to make, company is going to share the benefit to the farmer. Please understand this one thing. Farmers are not entitled to sell the branded seed of a variety protected under this act. I've already explained that scenario. For example, company A developed the seed. After research and development, farmer purchased those seeds and farmers used those seeds for cultivation. At the end of that, new crop is there. Farmer is going to save some seeds from that. And now, what if farmer starts selling those seeds? So that is something which is in conflict with the right of the breeder. Because when we discussed breeder right, we have said that breeder will have exclusive right to sell. But in this case, farmer is also selling. So that's why there was a problem, and that is why farmers are not entitled to sell the branded seed of a variety protected under the act. Next is related to maritime sector. So two important development are there. We have discussed this last month as well. One is India has invited Singapore to join its 1 lakh crore maritime investment roadmap. Apart from that, we have also started DZ Bandar initiative. Bandar basically means refer to Bandargah, that is port. DZ basically means digitization. So it is digitization of our ports. That means we are using data and we are using AI to make them more efficient. Next is related to Green Tug program. It is part of that same maritime initiative. Understand what is tug. So tug are these small boat. This is large ship, and these are the small boats, as you can see. So usually these boats are diesel powered. So this leads to environmental pollution. That's why what we are doing, we're trying to replace the diesel tugboats with greener alternative. They could be battery powered, they could be hydrogen powered, methanol powered, or other fuel power. That is the objective of this green tug program. Okay. Now, what examiner can do? Examiner can set a trap that as a part of this initiative, we are going to do something related to tree plantation, just because there is a green. But understand the meaning of this term, tug. This everything is self-explanatory. Next is related to financial sector assessment program, and this is a report by World Bank. Understand, as per that report, if India want to be $30 trillion economy by 2047, we have to take certain reforms. What are these reforms? We have to develop resilient system, we have to focus on our digital strength, we have to improve our regulation, and we have to focus on market development, and we have to address the taxation disparities. Taxation disparity between what? Between debt and equity. Debt basically means borrowing, equity basically means stock market. Okay. Our bond market is not well developed, so that's why we have to focus on that part. Okay. Next is related to statement by India's economic advisor on IPO. See, even new companies are coming, and soon before their IPO, they turn profitable. Why so? Because now they have to launch IPO. So in that context, Chief Economic Advisor raised concern regarding the increasing use of IPO as an exit route for the early stage investors. Let's say you started a company. Now you want to exit from this company. So what you are doing, you are trying to launch an IPO so that you can sell your shares and people can buy it. Now, why you want exit? Because you think that the future of this company is not good. So ultimately, it is like dumping shares in public. People are naive; they don't understand this, and that's why they are victim. And that is being highlighted by the chief economic advisor. That a lot of IPO, in those IPO, rather than using that money for future plans, the investors or the actual investors, the initial investors, they want an exit. So that is the issue. Next is related to digital initiative to modernize warehousing and boost public distribution system. So government has announced various initiative to improve our PDS. PDS is public distribution system. Okay, what are these initiative? First is Bhandaran 360. Bhandar basically means warehouse. So this is by CWC to modernize our warehouse. And there is Smart Exim Warehouse system. It is for promoting efficiency in export and import from the warehouse. And there is Bhandaran, Darpan. An basically means Anaj, food grain, Darpan. So this is an initiative by FCI to improve and to digitize the food grain depot operations. Then there is Asha platform. It is by Department of Food and Public Distribution to improve the transparency in the PDS and to take feedback from the beneficiary. See, under NFSA, what is NFSA? National Food Security Act. Government provide subsidized food grain to roughly 84 crore people. If we have such a significant program, how come there is a issue of poverty and hunger, especially hunger? So to address that problem, government is taking feedback from the beneficiaries. And next is related to national industrial classification, like how industries are classified. So this is released by MOSPI. What is MOSPI? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The last classification was released in 2008. This one was released in 2025. The first one was issued in 1962. In a very simple sense, how industries are classified into different levels so that we can see which kind of industries are growing. So now there will be six digit structure for industries. Previously there was 5 digit. Again, too much technical. Just remember this. Previously there were 5 digit to classify any industry. Now there will be 6. Apart from that, there is an inclusion of indigenous sector. See, this classification is based on United Nations classification, but we have certain indigenous sectors as well. For example, Ayush based healthcare is there, handloom industry is there, so that has also been included. It also covers the emerging sectors such as renewable energy, financial technology, digital technologies, etc. And it integrates the environmental and green economy related industry. Okay, just remember one more thing, that it does not differentiate whether a particular activity is performed by machine or whether it is performed manually. That means it does not classify industries on the basis of nature of technology. So let me give a very basic example. Let's say shirt manufacturing is there. These shirts are being manufactured. There may be a company who is manufacturing this using, let's say, hand or tailors are there. And there is a company who is using machines for this. These are not two different industries. Actually, the manufacturing of shirt, this is one, manufacturing is one industry. Now, some are using technology, some are don't. So that does not mean there will be two classification. This statement says that the activities are classified based on their nature rather than based on the technique or based on the technology.